Yeah, so this is 23rd of May 2020. This is episode 10 of English Bonfire Talks, and we welcome everyone to the Bonfire. Those who are watching online, hello, and those who are watching in the recording also, hello. Nice to meet you and hope you have fun. And on the show today we have Nancy and her 3 cats.
Hello.
We have Angelina and her, how should I say, like this Scandinavian god who is Loki, but he happens to have happens to have reincarnated as a dog, incidentally. But yeah,
as it often happens to gods, you know, real deal, usual deal.
Yeah, we have Eugenia and her newly decorated flat, I guess. Yeah, we have Masha and her wonderful T-shirt, which asks this warm-up question: "How are you doing?"
Yeah. Hello.
And we have Caroline,
Hello.
my colleague from South Africa. So, and we were just talking about cats, and there is this cat that belongs to my sister, which is white, and it is known as FIFA, but there is this dark...
Осна поддержал ваш канал на 100 рублей и сообщает: юбилей. 10 тимес море. Пляси.
There is an anniversary message. So yeah, it's the 10th episode. It's an anniversary. Well, that's Jubilee, which was pronounced like jubilee, and that's just... it kills me. And so there is this cat, which is FIFA, but sometimes, according to this dark legend, which goes back to very deep history, and please, can you tell what is the second creature, the alter ego, the doppelganger of this mysterious cat?
Well, it started a year ago, but I think it was always there.
Yeah.
I think I knew that always.
Urge to play like the tragic music on the piano, although I don't even have piano.
Well, we can imagine that, like tom tom tom. Okay,
On a
so
dark and rainy night.
yeah, so I met a person on an English club back in Krasnoyarsk. Musa, I think he was at the streams one.
Yeah.
And he subscribed to my Instagram where I post cats, stories with cats a lot. And she really liked FIFA. And he occasionally responded to my stories like, "Oh, I love her, and it's very nice." And once he asked her name, and I wrote, of course, in English. And once he responded to story in Russian, and he wrote FIFA in Russian letters like Viva, and it was quite unexpected and funny in a kind way, of course. No judgment about Russian, because it's really great. Yeah, but I shared that with Andrew, and we decided, I think, that this like Viva is a second nature of FIFA when she starts to act like crazy cat, running around, making very strange noise. It's like such a deep meow. Very scary one. You can't expect a cat to make it. Yeah. So that's I guess the story. And I started to name FIFA Viva like in real life every time she acts crazy. So now it's kind of it's stuck with her as her second nature, second name. Yeah.
Kind of a cat version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know this book?
No.
Like it's a book, and there's lots of movies on this topic. There's this positive character who is a scientist or doctor, and he discovers some substance that when he takes it, he turns into his alter ego, like completely the opposite of this positive character. So
Yeah, the interpretation of this book is, I think, a Hulk from Marvel.
yeah. That's
It's
the
kind
most
of-
famous one, probably.
And kind of the Fight Club, I guess, the same motif.
Yeah.
Mhm. So the cat version of Fight Club, then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, most of cats act like this. Sometimes they just need to spend 15 minutes, like crazy cat, 15 minutes in a day. They have to act like crazy cats, and maybe to boost their energy and so on and so forth. And now and then they become like very shy and polite cats.
Maybe
But,
they feel themselves like dangerous tigers in this minute.
Yeah.
I think, I actually start to understand Riva now when I spent like almost 2 months in house, like being always here. Sometimes in the evenings I want to like run around like crazy and sometimes like shout, but I never do that, but I really want to. And I think if I would spend like several years in the house, I would start doing that as well because it's fun. It gives you some it helps you to let some emotions out, and I understand that.
Yeah. There is a meme about cats and dogs in quarantine, and that all dogs think like that their hosts just losing their job to spend a lot of money with dogs. And their hosts are the best people in the world, and all cats think like, you're a loser, you lose your job, go to find job.
Get out of the house finally. What are you doing
Get out of
here?
the house, yeah.
Give me my personal space back.
Yeah.
And that's like I've seen this comic. Like they're just the pre-panels. They get closer and closer to the dog, and it says "best quarantine ever."
Yeah.
This ecstatic dog, all day, every day. The owner.
I saw a couple of videos on YouTube where owners film their pets while they are away, and actually it's quite a sad show. I should say that pets are wandering around the flat, meowing or just howling, and it's apparent that they actually miss the owner, and
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
my cat's quite enjoying like me being here all the time, because every time I leave flat for like going to the shop or going to take some delivery, I go back and there are all of them sitting and like, where did you go for those 5 minutes? Why? And so cute, and they're so, how to say that, they show that they missed me, and now I'm really afraid to go back to office because I think it would be quite sad for them, but I have
Yeah.
to do it anyway.
You told them that you went to buy cat food.
No.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, that should work.
I heard that in the cat's mind, there is now a concept of some places outside the flat. So they think that you're closing the door and you're standing outside.
I want to say that, yeah.
Actually, I thought about like this concept of outside, how cats think about it when I moved from Krasnoyarsk to Novosibirsk, and I was like, for them it was like a few hours in cages in a car, few hours in cages and outside the cages in a train, then again car, and then again flat, and they have no concept that it was like such a big journey, kilometers, but they were like several changes, but a very stressful one, of course, but still they have no idea that we are actually in a different city now.
Yeah. You just change your furniture, and that's all.
And the smell and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
A couple times a day.
But it was quite funny when I just came to my friends first. When I came to Novosibirsk, I first lived with my friends at their flat. And when we first came there and I let cats out of the cages, FIFA jumped on the windowsill and she looked outside. And my friend made a comment like FIFA said, "Ah, Novosibirsk, okay." It was like funny.
Have you ever given your cats a herb called catnip? Do you get catnip in Russia?
Yeah, I have catnip, and I always get it when I order cat scratchers. But they don't seem to be excited about it at all. Like, I don't know why.
Oh.
We have this valeriana drops or what?
Yeah, I think we call this valeriana root. It's this extract maybe. Yeah.
Root extract, something like this.
Yeah,
Do you know
but that's what
valeriana,
they are
Caroline?
excited about. Huh?
This-
Yeah.
do you know valeriana? Or like I don't know. Probably it's something Latin. Maybe you have a different name for that.
Oh, so it's not catnip.
Well,
I think that's a different herb.
Yeah,
because
it's
it
not
doesn't come
exactly.
as like pieces of grass or something as does
Yes.
catnip. It's like a liquid. It's an extract from this root of this
yeah,
plant.
it's a root.
I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it does similar effect to catnip, I guess.
Ah,
But it's just more, I don't know, more
concentrated maybe.
Possibly so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Valerian.
Valerian.
It's like
Oh yes, I heard of it. Valerian, like a
Valerian, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I used to take to go to the dentist, Valium.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's sedation infusion or pills sometimes, but basically it's powder. I think it's ground root, which cats are just too excited about.
Yeah.
Sometimes you give them this medical herbal
I'm
tea.
sorry if I'm not replying, but it says my network bandwidth is low. I don't know why. It's never happened before, but so if I don't reply, it's because I can't hear.
Okay. Your video is not moving.
Yeah, you're frozen, but we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or we cannot.
Yeah.
Hey, Caroline.
Yes, okay, I can hear you
All
now.
right.
I can't see you. I can't see you. I can hear you perfectly.
Let's wait.
Well, that's something.
Yes, that is something. You've got beautiful
Yeah.
voices.
Oh, okay. I think now it's okay because there was almost no delay. So, these sachets with herbal tea, which we buy at pharmacy, like a kind of herbal tea for different stomach issues, and for cough, not for cough, but like to cure cough.
Against.
Yeah, against cough. Yeah, and I think sometimes cats go crazy about that too. Like you give them this sachet, and they kind of like they start rolling over the floor, and they get too interested about the sachet, and it's.
I think catnip goes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the right word. They sell it in these similar sachets.
Yeah.
And it's specifically for cats. They can just give it to them and they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Giving your cat a good what's that kind of trip, let's say.
Yeah.
Get your cats high. That's
Yeah.
the advertisement for this. Probably should be.
Good marketing.
Yeah. Edgy.
Yeah.
Well, there was a conversation happening between me and Nancy, about salad. So she was asking about this salad that I was making. It was with cucumbers, then with pickled cucumbers, and then with eggs and boiled eggs, of course. And there was, I think, some chips and mayonnaise, and I think that
Corn
was
and
and olives. Yeah, so that was the classical kind of combination. Later, I thought about corn, about sweet corn, And now the question is that Nancy doesn't really like olives or corn, and the question is, what do you think could go into this salad? Which will...
and also I don't have chips. I have cheese balls, which are kind of close to chips, I think. But I just went to the shop, so I am not going to go again in a week. So
I'm a little lost here. Is that a salad for cats? What are we talking about?
No.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I'm a
actually,
vegetarian,
my
so
cat
that's
was
why.
crazy about sweet corn and olives, so I guess he would like this.
Some cats
Actually,
eat,
yes, Ksusha quite likes olives and chips.
some cats like cucumbers. Like
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they sometimes eat them right off the vine, and I heard complaints when I lived like in the country. I heard complaints.
Isn't this interesting? My cat, I've got a very ancient cat, has just joined us.
Show the cat, please.
I can't see you. She's ancient, but I can't see you. Something happened.
Oh,
so
just move the cat in front of you, if it is possible.
Oh, okay. Yes, very. She's ancient. There we are.
Yeah.
Oh, she's very old, very ancient. And
how old is she?
She's 19 years old. That's old? She's purring. Away. Isn't this interesting? She knows that you're cat people. She's purring away. Oh, goodbye.
What a guest! What a guest!
Yes.
What is her name?
Her name is. So now what is her name again? No, because she's been called several names. It's my daughter's cat.
Okay.
Her name is KitCon. KitCon.
KitCon.
Yes, exactly that. And I'm just trying to think. We've all changed the names a few times. We called it gatinho, Portuguese for cat. But KitCon, it has an interesting name. I think she was found in a marijuana field or something, and there was a Rastafarian who said some word. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to get the story again. Can't remember. I've obviously got some mental block about it.
Okay, smoke catnip every day. I guess this is.
Yes. She's such a funny cat because she appears from nowhere. She's my daughter's cat. My younger daughter lived in New York for a long time, and she never forgave. It took a long time to forgive my daughter for leaving her. But every time we would Skype, she would just appear from nowhere and just be drawn to the computer. So she came to visit you too now, which is quite interesting.
Caroline, I want to ask you, and
I think she knew. Yeah.
You still can't see us.
I still can't see you. I don't know why. You saw my cat, did you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And we constantly see you. Could you? Maybe you could try to join again, like disconnect and then connect. What do you think? Let's try this.
That's exactly what I'll do. I'll disconnect. You carry on. I don't want to cause chaos. So I'll join again.
Yeah. Let's try. Well, so the salads I was talking about, it's not for cats. It's just.
I can see you.
You can.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Oh, good. It's so nice to see you again. Okay.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Right. So, what do you think could be an alternative to this salad, or possibly maybe you would like to tell about your favorite salad, which may be something like your personal invention, which you know is something unusual.
Andy, let me clarify. You use cucumber, fresh cucumber, and pickled cucumber in one and the same salad?
Yes.
It's very tasty.
You really?
It might sound as not, but it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, everything is kind of tasty with mayonnaise. Would you agree?
I can't agree, but in salads, yes. It's. I think it's the only thing I eat with mayonnaise. I think otherwise I usually don't use this sauce. Yeah.
I spent one. I used to not eat mayonnaise or ketchup or mustard or anything like this. I wouldn't like I don't know. I didn't like condiments in general, but one summer I spent in a kind of touristy site where I worked as well. I sold hot dogs, so it was my
Yeah.
like summer job, and we didn't really have time or a place to eat like a proper food. So I ate these hot dogs with all these condiments for a couple of months, and it broke me. I like mayonnaise and ketchup now. They like put it in everything.
Well, how to call this transformation?
What is
Stockholm syndrome.
Yes,
Excuse
more
me?
like it.
Stockholm syndrome.
Oh, yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Well, we
So-
have to say this point, Anglina. If mayonnaise is standing next to you with a gun, let us know. Give us a sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a mustard on the other side. Help!
Well, one of the best sauces, of course, is mustard, ketchup, and mayonnaise mixed. But I think I haven't
The
tried
Russian sauce, as some people
Yeah.
probably call it.
infernal.
Yes, I heard-
Infernal.
I saw the pictures on the internet of this thing being sold as with the proper bottles, and it says Russian sauce, ketchup plus mayonnaise.
I saw this in the store, and it was called kitchenette.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what people-
So tell me what it is. It's ketchup, that's tomato sauce. It's
And
mustard
mayonnaise.
and mayonnaise.
And mayonnaise together.
Yeah,
Oh, and is that a Russian sauce?
Well,
quote unquote.
it's well,
It's kitchenette, ketchup plus
Oh.
mayonnaise. That's the
Okay.
Russian cuisine.
I have a personal disclaimer in this case. It's not what I'm proud of. I mean, it's
It's part of your culture. Embrace it.
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty embarrassed about this sauce. I mean, it's exactly what we shouldn't do because, like, Italians with a multitude of sauces, I think, can just look down upon us and say, like, what the hell are you doing there? But that's crazy. How to say? Not crazy. Okay, I think it's very unhealthy because if you eat this, then your next day should be a day off because you have to kind of give your stomach rest. And we have the guest again.
Yes, we have the guest. I didn't know. There's something, she doesn't do this all the time, so that she knows you cat people, obviously.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's nice. Yeah.
Good cat.
All the attention's going. It's not outside the door. I'm spending too much time with you or something.
I think it's quite the case when you talk to the screen with someone who cats can see. They hear you talking and they are like, "Why are you talking to space? Let me
Yes.
just see this. Let me just
Yeah.
make it less awkward, maybe."
I think you're right.
It's very polite of them. It's like when you see somebody making a social awkward mistake or some faux pas, and you kind of jump to help. Like, hey, actually, I can mask it. Like you never did something stupid, and well,
It's so cute. I can't.
It's so funny because
That's
Andy
so
always
wise.
wanted me to show him a picture of the cat, and I never got round to it. I always thought I must send him a picture of the cat. Well, here
that's
you
better.
are.
That's better. A video of the cat. That's
Yes,
amazing.
exactly. She's stunning, yeah.
Are you hiding any more animals in your house?
No, I haven't. I haven't got any more animals. We had a dog, but the dog sadly died. But
Sorry to hear
so
that.
now we just have a cat. It's quite a character of a cat. You know, she rules the house actually.
We see her
Well, you
face.
can see that from
Yeah.
her face.
Yeah.
I already
Looks
feel
like
mind
master.
controlled. Actually, her like expression is very similar to Nancy's cat. if you see, if you
actually,
see
yes.
him like close up,
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
he's like secretly or not so secretly judging you. Like,
I know.
what are you doing here?
It's
Like,
really
oh,
strange.
yeah.
She's quite a number, this cat. Mm.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't look like she's going anywhere.
It's like cats don't take up the space in this conversation, so they were very welcome to stay in any number, and dogs too, of course, dogs too.
Okay.
So salads, favorite salads. Any ideas?
My favorite salad, I'll get this out of it. Although I'm sort of going a bit vegan at the moment, but my favorite salad is probably more so now that I'm going a bit vegan, is tomato and mozzarella salad. It's an Italian salad. Do you have that in Russia? It's tomato, mozzarella, basil, and olive oil.
Yeah, that's perfect.
There's a name for it. Is it a caprese salad?
Exactly.
Or something like this?
Yes. Exactly.
Caprese.
Or you can say that, or you can say it like that, or you can say it caprese.
Caprese, yes, that's
Caprese, yeah.
proper Italian name for it.
I don't know how proper it is. They don't understand English.
Well, sounds Italian to me.
And Italian enough to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. You know, it's so minimalistic and it's just white and red and it's just beautiful. You know, it's nice to look at.
And easy to cook.
Exactly.
And easy to cook.
Very easy to cook. Very easy and very quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I have a light version of this salad in a canteen, or what's that? Like kind of a cafe, but easiest than the cafe when you just take food. Is that the word, canteen?
Yeah, or cafeteria or buffet.
Kind of, yeah. So near my workplace, there's just like salad from tomatoes and sour cream, and they call it a salad, and it's just the one vegetarian option among like 5 or 6 salads, and I'm so pissed about it because it's just a tomato. It's not a salad.
Exactly, it's a single ingredient, and it's a vegetarian dish, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have so many different interesting salads, and they just make like sour cream, tomato, some green onion, but that's just not enough. I think they can do better, but yeah.
Vegans sometimes have hard time in Russia because probably most of them, except maybe for bakeries, they mostly contain meat in some way.
Well, vegetarians are kind of fine, but vegans,
yes.
They're suffering.
There's a side of ancient gods. Do you want to join the conversation? You can kind of see him in the mirror.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Oh, he's dancing a bit. Yeah, how cute. Are you cute, doggy? Oh,
it looks a bit like a border collie. Is that a border collie?
No, he's just someone, when he was a puppy, someone found him on the streets. He was just a stray puppy, like alone. I don't know what happened to him because he's a healthy, beautiful dog. He was about a month old, maybe. Well, and my friend took him from, they were giving him away, and she took him and raised him, and he's this beautiful boy. And now he lives with me because they moved countries and couldn't take him. So now I get to enjoy this sight all day, every day. Oh my God! Oh, he's smiling. Oh.
And what is his name?
Lucky. It's Lucky.
Lucky.
That's because that's why we were talking about a god. It's like a
Scandinavian god.
Scandinavian god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thor.
Like this. What's the name for it? He's a god of
The god of
Indian
tricks, I think,
tricks,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
something like
yes,
this.
something like this.
Mischief, god of mischief.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
So
god of
so
mischief.
Yeah.
not Lucky,
the god of
but
mischief.
Loki. Loki, the
Loki,
Scandinavian guy.
Oh, Loki.
Loki,
Loki,
yes.
yeah,
Loki.
yeah.
Yes.
Right. The god of mischief. That's quite
Yes,
nice.
Scandinavian god of mischief. That's because my friends' children, they're obsessed with Marvel movies, and they that's there they got this name. I don't know. I don't think they know the Scandinavian gods other than from the Marvel movies. But here we have this embodiment of mythology. Yeah.
He's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's not that mischievous, to be honest. he's just a little fool, but he's cute. He's probably like is in some part some sort of breed, a mixed breed, because he is very similar to these Alaskan dogs, something like this, that you can ride the
Oh, yes.
Husky.
what's the skin?
Husky, yeah.
Yes, he's similar. I think Husky and Lycas, are they the same breed?
No,
I
they're
don't know.
kind of different.
I think they're different. I think he's more
Yeah.
like a Lyca, because one day I was walking down the street with him and some man approached me. Some strange man. I don't know him. He just asked me, "Is that Lyca dog?" And I said, "I don't know. Found it on the street." And he said that his friend has Lycas, like a lot of them, and he looks a lot like his body and his tail, this fluffy tail that crawls up. So maybe, yeah, yes, yes, I am here, and we don't know. He's just a beautiful dog. That's the story. I don't have a conclusion for this. He just likes to be around people. He gets so excited when people
He's so
talk.
nice. I like him so much. He's like, yeah, he's
Yeah.
really excited when he sees
That's
someone.
quite interesting because you think of a dog as like caring for his territory, and he barks. Then someone walks outside the door, but then you come in, and even if a strange person he haven't seen before comes in with the owner, with me, or with the owner, he had a couple, and like this person is immediately becomes his best friend. Like he would greet them and like wag his tail and be very happy about it. I don't know, but he's a confusing dog sometimes.
Just because this person is now.
Masha, Mike.
I'm just looking that this person is now inside, not outside. That's maybe.
Yeah.
think
Probably
that's
he thinks that if the owner brought them in,
Yeah.
they're
They can
friends.
trust him, yeah.
Yeah. Nancy can what's the word for it?
Confirm.
It's escaped me today.
Oh,
Confirm?
our dogs kind
Yeah.
of. I mean, I can confirm that Loki is very nice and welcoming dog. Yes, but I think I have different experience with our dogs.
Yeah, I was thinking about Loki. Yeah, you have three very different dogs. They're all different characters, I guess.
Yeah, my mom has 3 dogs right now. When I lived with her, we had 2 dogs and 3 cats in one flat, which is not quite a nice and I don't know, human thing to do to pets, I think. But that's what life was. I mean, we took them from the street, but they were living together and it wasn't quite safe for cats because one dog is a bit nervous, and she once beat a cat.
Don't forget to mention how many times Ksyusha beat her.
Ksyusha and FIFA were very smart about dogs. They never came to them. But Kot, he was like, oh, they're my new best friends. He was lying on the floor with them. He was trying to make like a good friendship out of it. But he didn't know that when you approach a sleeping dog, you shouldn't actually touch it. So once my dog bit him, but it never taught him a lesson. He still tried to approach a sleeping dog, and it was a very stressful month, I think, after that accident for me, because I always was on the watch for cats, for dogs, where are they? So, because I mean, this is a responsibility. Yeah, but we have had 2 dogs. One of them is very nervous. And the second one is very kind, and I think he's very welcoming to strangers in the house, basically. Yeah. And after I moved out, Mom, after some time, she took another dog, and I only met him when I came to her occasionally. So yeah, and he's very old, and he's well, I think he's kind, but he's afraid.
That's the case with a lot of dogs who been on the streets.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, they had a bad experience.
Yeah.
So I remember our dog also came from that we call them rescue dogs.
Yeah.
It also came from the same situation. And when we went to pick him up, we chose him. We called him Jacob because he never had a home, and we lived on a road that was called Jacob's Ladder. So, you know, the orphan had a home.
Yeah.
And he shook all the way home. He was so nervous. He just shook. And then we had some grass in front of the house, and he just loved this grass. He'd never seen grass in his life before. So yeah, he was a lovely dog.
Why hasn't he seen the grass? Yes. Why?
Because at the place he stayed in a kennel on sand. So this green grass was just, he did go on to dig up every blade of green grass we had, right down to the foundations of the house. And then somebody came and said to me, you've just got to tell him this is enough now, Jacob, you stop doing it. And actually he did stop.
That's a nice thing that he did.
Yes. I think there was a mole. You know what a mole is? There's underground creatures. And I think he was after this mole. But we got a dog because we lived close to the sea, and we thought it would be lovely to walk a dog on the beach. But it took him a long time before he would go out to the beach.
He was afraid of the sea?
Yes, he was afraid to go anywhere. He said, so we just said, it's all right, you can just be a little house dog, Jacob, it's fine.
Was he a big dog?
He looked, it was medium size, about the size actually of a border collie. You know, the border collies, about that.
Yeah.
And when they found him, he had no hair, absolutely no hair, and he was lying next to, I think, his mother, dead mother, and they took him in. But he was such a lovely dog. We just really grew to love him. My husband was very patient with him, though. I think you have to give those dogs a lot.
Yes.
That's the story of Jacob. Anyway, this cat had a kitten who grew to be double her size. And Jacob just loved this. Jacob loved that. This cat would never have anything to do with Jacob. But when her son died, her son got run over. And Jacob loved this cat. Jacob used to clean his eyes. And when this cat died, Jacob just went into mourning for about 3 days. And then this KitCon befriended him, finally. Took a long time. Anyway, that's my animals.
Yeah. Sometimes animals act like humans, you know. That's strange.
Yes, they are.
Well, we project on them that a little bit, but also they are social animals.
Yeah.
They are not wild. We befriended them and we made them be like this kind of. I don't know. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I agree with you. I don't know. Sometimes when they become a bit of a nuisance, I say, oh, I don't know about these domesticated animals at all.
Yeah. Sometimes I just feel bad for them because most owners, and I am guilty of this too, most owners don't really know how to treat an animal. And they, like this theory, this is kind of crazy to me now that I think about it. And so at first I kind of believed it when I first heard it, that the dogs trying to kind of dominate you. Have you heard about this
Yes,
theory?
I have. It's a pack theory. It's called a pack theory.
Yeah. That doesn't. When you dig into it and actually read some alternative literature from like zoo psychologists, dog psychologists, that's crazy how harmful it actually can be, because some owners go to some extent to like um, to be dominant over the dog and being harmful to the dog and hurting them in physically sometimes. So it's and it's a pretty popular theory, and that scares me a little bit now that I know how harmful it can be. And I understand the frustration of the owner, because when Loki um, first I just got him, I didn't know how to what to do with him and how to. He has his problems, and I didn't know what to do, and I would be really, really frustrated about it. And yeah, that. And then the first thing when you're doing your research on how to treat a dog is this, like assertive dominance, like be this aggressive, I don't know,
Alpha in
master.
the house.
What?
Alpha in the house.
Yeah, that's
Be the alpha.
that's
So you are saying that this dominance theory is actually a myth?
it is a myth. It's completely a myth, and it's a harmful one, because dogs don't think about people as they think about other animals. They People are more like their owners, are like a parental figure for them. It's not like they try to dominate over the owner. It's actually not true, and it well, it can lead to sad results, because people think that they should like the dog should be behaving all the time like this, like a robot. That can be bad for the animal's what's the word? Psyche. And I am guilty of this mistake, and it all this causes it scares the animal, and it hurts them, and the owner for them becomes this like love hate relationship. They can't get away from you, but they don't know what to expect from you other than like screaming or something. I don't know. That's a hard topic. Let's move to something like lighthearted.
Just as it was getting interesting.
Well,
I'm not qualified. I'm just not qualified. I don't want to dig a hole for myself. And people probably would come to comment if they didn't already and say that I'm wrong and that's the only right theory, and that's, I don't want to get into that.
Yes, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to say that every time you post anything about how to behave with dogs correctly, I'm truly amazed how wrong was I when I was raising my dog. And I totally understand it, because every time you Google how to like train a dog, how to raise a dog, you'll always get like first results is dominance, is strict rules and stuff and stuff and stuff. And it's easy to believe that, but I think it's very nice to rethink that theory, because it really can make the life of our pets easier, happier, better, and maybe that's what we should do, even if like maybe now this theory is wrong, like this kind theory is wrong, but I think it should be right. Because I'm also guilty of raising dog very uh, awful, and I mean I understand why I did that, and like I wasn't ready to have a dog. I found first like the first dog we got when she was like 2 months old or 1 month old, and we also found her on the street. Uh, and I just didn't know how to take care of a dog at all. I had to Google it as I go along, and I have to Google it along as how do you say? I kind of.
Oh, I know. I understood exactly what you meant. You just,
Yeah.
as you went along, you Googled on how to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
so
like we brought up children too. Don't worry, they survived.
well,
So you have a sort of
I'm out. I'm out.
well, as kind of as a normal thing it is, I think it's better not to make it a normal thing, and I think it's better to be prepared long ahead before you have anyone new in your life, um, who you have to take care of. And I was like, I had a kid mindset. It was end of the school, and I was stressed about exams. I was stressed about getting into university. I also had I was in a relationship I wasn't really happy about, and it was a stressful time for me too. And all this stress, sometimes what I like, how to say that, I let it out on my dog, and I was shouting. I was very aggressive and stuff, and I think I really messed up her psyche, and she's kind of nervous because of me, and I'm very very ashamed of it. I mean, I cannot do anything now about it, but I changed my attitude towards pets completely. I never shout. I try to control my aggression, even not to be aggressive to them, even when they make something I am not particularly happy about. When I'm really stressed, I understand that it's not their fault. So, and I'm the human here, and I can have control over this. Maybe they can't, but I have, and I think that's the right thing to do. So, so Angelina, I think what you're reading, what you're doing, it's very nice, and Loki is very lucky to have you. Definitely.
For the context, what Nancy is talking about, I subscribe to a few, in my opinion, reliable sources on the topic, and I repost them frequently because I really, really want other people to know these things and not to repeat my mistakes, because it's, oh my god, I know it's, for people it's easier to understand its dominance here because it sounds intuitively right, like the dogs are descendants of wolves, and wolves are pack animals, and what pack animals do, they want to assert dominance, but it's for the dogs it's not correct. Well, maybe they, when they are stray dogs, they live in a pack, maybe it works, but it doesn't work with people. And I also understand when you don't know anything about dog's psychology, it's easy to get frustrated. Like you come home after work from it was a stressful day, and you come home and the dog
Ouch is destroyed.
got into trash bin or something like this, and it can be quite stressful. But and I would sometimes let my anger out and like, what have you done? Why did you get there? And it's also I'm scared for him because what if he eats something that he shouldn't and gets sick? And but if you read a bit about and all the dog psychologists say that dogs can't make that link that you are shouting at them because they earlier in the day did something. They just can't link this. It's a different story if you see right now you see the dog getting into the trash bin and say like you shouldn't do that. So it's like nope, something whatever in the whatever you can, just the tone matters. But if it's happened earlier in the day, they just can't. Their brain are not wired that way. They just can't understand that you are shouting at them. Why? And they feel like they can't rely on you. That you are unpredictable. Why are you shouting? Why? I'm so happy to see you. You finally came from work after a few hours. I was waiting for you, and you start shouting at me, and that's I just feel like so bad for them, and that I did that, and that other people, a lot of people, do that because they don't know any better, and that saddens me a lot. That's why I try to spread the information when I can. So that's what Nancy was referring to.
They're very loyal dogs. They're very loyal and forgiving, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's what breaks my heart even more. Like you can be so bad to them, and they just can't do anything about it. They just love you, and they are affectionate about you, and that's my God, what the guilt you feel if you was unfair to this animal. Oh my God.
Well, can I just cover several points that I have written down, just because I think there are some interesting things that might be interesting to learn. First of all, this latest point about guilt. So, Ingrina, we happen to watch the same channel, The Futur, or The Future, by Chris Doe, a designer, and actually I think he's not
entrepreneur.
He's not this just designer, entrepreneur. He's also an enlightened one, I think. I mean, he is
highly recommend.
Yeah, so he is this person who is just, I think, potentially kind of, he bears this gift of he portends future. I mean, in terms of business, I mean, he understands things which are not yet understood about doing business, about promoting yourself, about self-discovery, about searching for your true purpose, and also like he kind of I think I'm failing to explain. I mean, he's just a very good visionary. He's not only able to understand things, he's also able to convey them in a very understandable manner. So he gives lectures and he makes them accessible on YouTube, and he ensures, and actually it's a very effective way of webinars, that he has audience in the classroom, and then he has a camera in front of him, and then he talks to the audience, and he's filming this, which is also a very effective way, because when you're watching the video, you are connecting, you're relating to the audience, like you impersonate yourself with the audience, and then you understand what he is getting at, because you are following the flow, which we mentioned. So it's very effective, and then it's not that it is just something revelatory or something absolutely unknown, but sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just the correct he is like, you are derailed generally, and he rails you back to this good railroad of consciousness and reason. And so what he said in one of his videos, I think it's one of his most popular videos, about why the most expensive designers are so expensive. Because he says, I think he quoted Socrates or Aristotle or somebody like that. He said, what's the most important thing in life? What's the most difficult thing in life? To know who you are. And the most the easiest thing is to give advice. So, but I'm going to focus on the first one. So to know who you are. And he says that that's why we are ready to pay so much to people who help us discover ourselves, that we go to psychotherapists. He didn't say that, but I'm just extrapolating the idea. He talked about big companies, corporations, without naming them, but what he means, for example, that when a company loses the owner or the founder, the company just is guided by financial flows now, and they lose their identity, they lose profit, they lose public trust, and then they try to return this founder to tell them who they are, what they actually are trying to achieve. And they are ready to pay any money, because if they are not able to return this founder, they hire just extortionately expensive company of kind of like think tanks who tell them like, okay, this is going to be our course. And so in this light, from this perspective, what you are in a dog's life or in a cat's life, well, cats, okay, it's a separate topic. Dogs, I think, are
very separate.
Yeah, so dogs are, I think they see in a human this kind of core, like the meaning of their existence, which they never had in the forest. In the forest, they were just running around hunting for prey and living their posterity. But with humans, they kind of see the goal, the target, some kind of meaning, and I think they kind of comprehend that it is so valuable that they have this kind of semi-conscious choice to stay with us and to make friends with us. So from this perspective, even if you are guilty of failing to rear some dogs properly, then you still give them the most expensive gift possible, is to help to self-identify, which is people in your life who helped you to self-identify. I think you'll never forget them, because that was the most turning point in your personal history, right? Because before that it was just blurry, and after that it became kind of clearer, and anything could be done to you. But if you don't know who you are, nothing can help you. And so people or things that help you, they're becoming so important and so essential and so vital. Now, about what you said about like when you were 17, I think you shouldn't put all this blame onto yourself, and I think you shouldn't put any blame on yourself, because that's I think it's our kind of family issue, that our relatives just love assuming responsibility they never can handle, and also very easily letting themselves unleash all the emotions they have on the surrounding areas in excessive amounts. And I think we kind of got patronized at some point, and it took time to get out of this habit. I mean, of just letting what you feel go out in wrong directions. And also, I think it's partly about fear. I think anger is a secondary thing. It's always fear that lies below anger. So that's why, for example, when you talk about teachers who are shouting, I think teachers are never angry, really angry. I mean, I think they're afraid. They're afraid that parents will come and criticize their teaching, or that administration will come and criticize their teaching style again, or that children will fail later, and then there will be some consequences for the teacher. So it's always some kind of several bottoms question. And so when your dog misbehaves or your child misbehaves, you are afraid that you are going to spend an extra hour cleaning up, and you're going to always sleep next day, and you'll be late for work, and you'll get less salary. And so these kind of triggers several things, like, this battery charge going quickly from 0 point to maximum point, and you just glow like a lamp, and you start shouting. So, and that's I think what happens. So it's a question not about anger, it's about fear. And if you are grown up in a very hostile atmosphere, which I think is our case, then you definitely will be afraid of many things. And so if your dog misbehaves, you will be afraid subconsciously, and so you will not be able to control, to harness yourself. And so I think it's more about subconsciousness, and the fact that you have grown over that, I think it's more important than what you did before. And the next point about this tendency that we have about wrong concept that we have to assume dominance, I think it's maybe you've heard this. I was listening to this lecture by Peterson about Benjamin Spock. Benjamin Spock was a pediatrician in the USA in the middle of the 20th century, and he was talking about child rearing. He
Dr.
said,
Spock.
Yes, exactly. So
yes. It was my mother's era of all my mother and her friends all read Dr. Spock. We were brought up as Dr. Spock children. I don't know whether it was good or bad, but you can tell me, Andy.
For boys, it was bad because he said boys are masculine; they have to be separated from their mother. Like mothers can be affectionate with daughters, but sons have to be kind of raised like in Spartan. Well, I'm going to exaggerate because I haven't read him. I'm kind of quoting the quote, which leads to big simplification and probably giving you kind of wrong facts. But the essence was that he was very wrong. He was very wrong because he said like boys have to be boys and they have to be separate from their mothers. What happened was that their psychology was mutilated by that because they didn't have enough love when they were children. So they grew up into kind of semi-maniacs, or they became homosexual because they sought love in every possible point. And that was such a horrible misconception. But that's this just civilizational normal course that we have mistakes as people, and we just need to, again, like what you're doing, talking about this. And isn't it interesting, like as soon as we got to this most interesting point, most engaging point, most curious point, we wanted like, oh no, let's just shift the topic to something light. Let's shift the topic to something more agreeable, something less frustrating, less hurting. And this is actually the sacrifice of the progress, right? So that to talk about things which are not pleasant at all, which have this space for vulnerability, that people can disagree with you and actually don't want to listen to you. But that's how you actually push the topic forward, that please look at this. This is what we say because this is correct, and what used to be isn't correct, or at least it is not as correct as we thought. And
goodness knows what it might unearth.
Yes.
Start digging around there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the final thing, I read this book called One Minute Manager. It's a very short book about business, but there was a wonderful story.
Yes, I've seen it. I know it.
Yeah, about
the 1 Minute Manager.
Yeah.
Wasn't it written in the 30s?
It is, I think, quite old, actually.
Yes.
So there was a story about a dog that, like, if you have a dog and then you come home and there is, and your dog had some mischief and you punish it and it will jump out of the window because it is afraid of you. Then next time you come and it has done some mischief, what will happen? Your dog, without waiting, will jump out of the window because it doesn't understand why you are shouting, but it understands that there is this pattern. If there is something around,
you coming home, and
it has to escape. So the guy there says that you have to establish a good pattern, explaining how you should treat workers, that you should catch them doing right things, not wrong things. If you do them, if you catch them doing wrong things, then you are establishing the bad pattern. And then they have no idea what is right, but they exactly know what is wrong. And they will hide, they will pretend, they will lie, they will cheat, they will escape. But they will do anything but right things. And so you have to do the opposite. You have to actually catch them and say, look, this is correct. Do this and I'll praise you. And that's, I think, how you can rear up dogs too. I guess I've never had a dog in my life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. According to what I read, you don't need to punish dogs for anything. You just maybe say them no when they do something like completely wrong. But the main thing is to help them know what is good and encourage them to repeat it, to do it more. So that's the main point of this like non-violent approach to raising your dogs. Not necessarily raising, like living with your dog.
It's actually, I think, the same with cats, because all the advices I read from the like reliable sources, they're all also the same. Like first you do everything good, and being negative and creating some punishments is your last resort. Like the last thing you should do. And first you have to make sure that you created an environment for cats or for dogs that helps them to do the right thing. It's like for me, it's I always fight with Ksusha about scratching the couch, because I live in a rental apartment and I have to take care about couches here and stuff, not to pay for them afterwards. And Ksusha, she doesn't understand my point about money. She has no concept about money and stuff. So she's trying to scratch the couch all the time. And at first I was really angry about it. I was shouting. I was making loud noises to scare her off and stuff. But then I decided maybe I should buy more scratchers that Ksusha likes. Maybe buying just one is not enough, because maybe she doesn't like this one. Maybe she would like another one. So I just have to try different scratchers. And yeah, they use it for bed. Sometimes I bought this cardboard scratchers, and they, instead of scratching it at first, they just lie on them using as bed. But still afterwards they recognize the scratcher in it. So yeah, the point is you have to do everything possible to make your cats doing something good, and telling them it's good to do some stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's sometimes if you don't want the dog to do something, if you catch them doing that, it can have an opposite effect. For example, when you walking the dog and they find something on the ground and you don't want them to eat that, you would be better off not shouting at them or trying to take it from them, because it creates this stress response and they're trying to eat it faster. This probably happens to you if you walk the dog. You would be better off to shifting their attention, to call them, let's run, and they would drop it and run with you. And it also creates this bond that if you found something like that smells like food on the street, you should run from it. Well, theoretically it should. I don't know. Right? That's what I read. Theoretically, it should create this this link between eating something on the street and running away. So it's always better.
Sorry, can I interfere? Look at Masha's video on the left. There is this kettle and cups and the reflection of the sun and of this sunset sun. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
And I bought camera on Thursday, and I'm now hunting for shots. And I'm so sad I can't take a photo of that. And
yeah,
because it's definitely a
nice.
beautiful shot. And there is this tree undulating, tree branch.
Yeah, tree. Yeah, that's true.
What poetic.
Yeah.
Of course, it is sun, tree, and kettle.
Yeah.
That's always a beautiful.
And kettle, yes.
And the kettle, yeah.
The most poetic ingredient of them all.
And
cat.
I'm sorry for interruption. I just like.
Well,
That's
I
beautiful.
finished my thought right at the point that you interrupted me. So there we go.
So actually, these things with dog training and so on, this it's kind of problematic question in my family because we always have a dog. My grandma has a house, and she consider dogs like more like a function. You know, they should protect this house. They should guard the territory. So there I was younger. We used to argue a lot with my grandma, grandpa about how they should treat dogs and so on and so forth because well, it's kind of maybe painful question for me, but yeah, I thought that they uh, treat treat them not so good as they should to treat the dogs. So yeah, and several months ago, my aunt and an uncle they had a new dog, a new puppy, and they start to train her, and they go to the special. I don't know how.
Puppy school.
Yes,
Yes,
special club, special school for dogs. I don't know
Yes,
with
yes.
trainers. Yeah,
yeah.
and
Yeah, it's a dog school where
dog
you
school. Yeah,
Puppy
Yes.
school sounds better. I know, like.
puppy
Yes.
schools. Yeah. So yeah, and one problem was that this little puppy, she was so happy when he saw human beings that she was so overloaded by her emotions that she started to bite people, not just because she wants to harm, she wanted to harm them, but she was so happy to see them that she couldn't control her emotions, and she started to bite them. And with this problem, my uncle and my aunt came to the puppy school, and the trainer, the teacher, I don't know how to say, the puppy teacher,
yes,
puppy
yes.
trainer, yeah.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
he taught this puppy not to bite them, and by one lesson. And I was so surprised because I thought that I thought that it should take a long time to for this puppy to stop bite people, and I asked actually my uncle and my aunt how could he manage with this problem, and I was quite shocked with an answer because they were shocked actually too, and this trainer just start to when the dog was happy and start to bite him a bit, he started to suffocated her a bit, like
Oh God.
yeah. And
Goodness me.
this, yeah, a bit, not totally of course, but a bit. And he wanted to make this pattern when if you're happy and you start to bite people, the people could harm you, and it was so awful, and I was so shocked. It worked. The puppy stopped to bite people when she was happy, but the method was so cruel, and that's why I insisted that my uncle and aunt stop to visit this school. And I thought that there are a lot of such trainers especially in Russia. There are a lot of such men that believe that that's a good methods to that's the only methods to train dogs. And actually, I saw like a video in his account, on Instagram of this trainer, and he has a lot of dogs, and they look so trained. Like they eat only, he allows them to eat, and he make this video to show people how he is experienced at training dogs. But now I think in case now I know what methods he uses, and I felt like, I don't know, felt a lot of sadness about his dogs.
Mhm.
They look happy actually, but and they love him, but I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
the most sad thing about it. That
yeah,
it could be trained. The same things could be trained without like
yeah. I
harming the dog.
believe that
It
too.
would take a bit longer, but
Yeah, of
not
course.
that long, as far as I know. And
Yeah,
also, I
but
had similar.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
continue.
that, uh, or
Continue, continue.
yeah, I think a lot of people just want fast results. They just
Mhm.
don't want to wait a long time. They just take their puppies to such trainers,
Yeah.
and they want to have a good dog as a result,
Yeah.
who can good trained dog. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe that's why. And
That's
they
the
don't
main
care about
problem.
methods. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you, in Russia, do you have animal whisperers?
What is?
So
No.
I'm thinking what of the word. It's they converse with animals in their own language.
I've read about
It's like
them.
it's like a horse whisperer.
that's not a widespread thing. I've seen a couple of books on this topic, but I've never actually heard or seen about like a person.
Mhm.
We've got a wonderful. She's a girl. And we had a. I don't know, Andy, if you went to Simon's Town. It's just outside of Cape Town. It's about an hour away, or half an hour away, towards Cape Point. And they were having a lot of problems with baboons from the mountains. You know, those big monkeys.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So they'd come in and they'd break into your house, and quite honestly, they were always after food. But quite honestly, you'd rather human burglars break into your house. They left such a mess. Everything was like everywhere, and so a lot of those houses were having the problem with these baboons, these tribes of baboons breaking into their homes, and they can be a bit dangerous if you're holding a sandwich or something. You know, they're big. They once chased a woman who had a tourist who had a backpack, and she had her lunch in her backpack, and her husband just said to her, "Throw the bag away, throw the bag," because it had a sandwich in. But anyway, so they got this girl in. She was a young girl, a lovely girl, and she spoke to these baboons, and she said, "What is your problem that you're becoming aggressive and you're breaking into these houses?" And they said, according to her, the baboon said she's actually solved a lot of animal problems, many deep animal problems. But she said, oh, the baboon said to her that what we can't understand humans. We're prepared to share our mountain with them. Why can't they share their food with us? And she was but it wasn't. She did have people took her seriously. She solved many problems with animals. You know, with elephants and people fly her everywhere.
Like Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that's we he tapped into the root of the problem, I guess, that people want like they don't want happy animals, they want convenient animals. They just and that's why they can go to the extent to to basically hurt them in order to just remove the inconvenience, basically.
It actually works with kids too. I know people who think that to talk to the kid and to explain something is too long, and it's quite easier and faster to just beat the child.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, a few weeks
So
ago.
this is the evening of hard topics.
Yeah.
Thorough.
A week
But you
ago.
are right about that. There are people who bring their children up like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I most of the people I know are not like that because I didn't want to be around these people. But I have this one, I guess, acquaintance from the childhood, and one time I wrote something on Instagram along the lines that how not good it is of people to like when bringing children on the train, and I ride train every day to work, when they just instead of like entertaining the child, talking to them, just give them a smartphone or a tablet and with some, I don't know, games or some cartoons, and then the child just like watches this like out loud, like everyone can hear it, this like stupid cartoon noises, and that's quite annoying when it's early morning, or even worse than you going home from work and it's already an evening and you had a long day. That's how not good those parents are. I wasn't rude or anything, I just was stating that, well, there are better ways. And I asked, um, well, there are a few friends of mine who are parents now, so I asked what are the better ways to entertain a child on the train when when um, when going something somewhere, and like most of the answers go nice, like, well, you can like talk about something, look out the window and count something, play with like finding something on the landscape, etc. This like tricks to entertain the child. They also like finding something interesting around you, very nice things. But this one person wrote something along the lines, well, yeah, I will give them the phone, and if they still don't behave, I'll just like punch them, basically. Like son, it's he. She has a son, and I was, oh my god, I was, I'm still disgusted thinking about it. Like, it's just not like she was ashamed of it or something. Like sometimes parents, they are very tired and they snap and they regret it. No, she was quite forward about it and she was totally okay with it. Oh, it felt awful. And I deleted right after I read it. I just deleted the app and I wouldn't go there for a week because I was just so disgusted. I didn't want like anything reminding me of this, and just like a door to another reality. And there are a lot of people who live in this reality, and I am kind of scared for these children and of what kind of adults these children will become. Yeah, very sad. Not only with animals, but with kids, that happens probably a lot too.
I agree. And also that's a good point, these like, you know, another realities, because each person is totally different reality for you, and sometimes you can open something unexpected. Yeah. And I also think that I maybe and then I see a lot of I know some takes as normal that they can like frog like kittens and puppies and so on and so forth. And I started to thought that they live on one earth, in one city, in one country, and how can we be so different persons? I don't know.
Yeah, it's really like
That's
for-
really
for
think
my-
that it's like, yeah, different realities.
I think the correct question here is not why we why we are so different, like why we're not the same. That's the question, because historically, evolutionary, everything kind of supposes that you will do the same, right? I mean, that's how the planet works. That's how the evolution
Yeah,
works.
you mean that we all were born with two legs, two arms, in general, with one head, and they are born as the same.
Not only that,
Yeah.
because we follow the same evolutionary standard. I mean that we are,
Yeah.
like we are, we follow
I'm
the
sorry.
what's that? Oh, that was
That is,
okay. Some evolutionary.
That was very funny. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah. So, yeah, we follow the same evolutionary chain with the principles that guide our existence, and so that's like the question is not why, for example, children are cruel, but the question is why aren't they cruel? Why we aren't cruel? What mutations happened in our head? Because it is a mutation. Because, well, Sigmund Freud was born only the previous. Well, I mean, he wrote his works only in the previous century. That's four generations away. That's nothing. That's nothing. I mean, the planet was evolving for billions of years, and we are talking about 100 years of development. And so the Second World War finished just not even 100 years ago. Vietnam War, and then other wars which took place recently. And in what's happening now is still very far from this idyllic world. So it's, of course, the correct question to ask, why? But the question is, why not? Like, what makes us different? What makes us to consider what we are doing? And how to actually propagate it? How to make it more widespread? And speaking of this, I don't like this question, but speaking of cruelty towards animals, I mean, this is usually a very strange question to discuss when you are like, how many vegetarians do we have here? Well,
I think two.
yeah, so I mean, like, if we are still not a vegetarian world, talking about cruelty towards animals is just pointless, because it's just double standards. Like, we have to, like, you know, like, either you cross yourself or you, okay, that's a bad idiom to say. I think you got me. Thank you. So I mean, like, we are sitting on the fence, and we have to choose which land to land to. I mean, this is this question. And if people eat meat, then of course there will be the majority who thinks that cruelty is the normal course of things, and that's why. The question is, why not? Why not to be cruel? Because that requires a lot of emotional strength, a lot of thinking, a lot of rationality, a lot of good reasoning, which usually comes not as a like 10 pieces of advice how to be kind and how to be benevolent and how to be a good parent. No, it's usually thousands of pages of reading that you have to start like when you're a child, or most often it's your parents who start reading, or even your grandparents, and then they just propagate this through generations, and then here you are understanding something about this world because somebody 50 years ago began this process. Maybe that person was like had higher salary than the average citizen, and then this person was able to give good upbringing to his or her children, and then these children gave another nice life to their children, and then those last children have kind of a chance to actually think about the soul. While, like, if you don't have this condition, it is a very low chance that you will actually become this Maslow ideal person immediately, just jumping over the first 4 stages.
Yeah,
like, I don't care like about food, I want to only care about altruism. It's a very unlikely scenario. So that's why, yes, it is sad, but actually it is not. It is not sad. It is normal. It is absolutely simple and absolutely true. It's just that it saddens to remove this, to have this reality check. It's what we are usually not ready for. And then, well, what can I say? Discussion is valuable in this case. Sharing opinions is very valuable. Yes, Masha?
I think that when you discover such things, such things ground you in some way, if you know what I mean. Like turning
humble
you
you.
back into reality.
Oh.
I mean, ground you.
I see.
Like,
okay.
I don't know how to say.
Makes you
I
come back to
understand.
earth.
Yeah, makes you come back to earth, to reality, and you actually stop living in your like pink glasses and so on, and that's real life how it is.
I actually, well, if we think that we have, well, we haven't, of course, exhausted the topic, but just there were a couple of questions that that were on agenda. So that's just becoming a joke. This.
Okay, on agenda was a salad. Let's start with this.
Yeah, but actually, I myself wanted to talk about professions, and my question was like how to choose a profession and how to help someone choose a profession. And Angelina wanted to talk about professional growth, and Nastya, you wanted to talk about what is it to become an adult, so and how it happens. So I don't know. Shall we try to develop these topics?
Why not?
Well, I still have time, so when I'm not tired, so I can.
So I think it's
Food looks just so.
Yeah.
So his dominance.
He started to kick me, you see. This very mean.
Oh, he's like a little monkey.
perpetuum mobile.
Oh.
So cruelty towards humans is also a thing. Yeah.
He is very
But
sensitive.
he's just
He's very sensitive about his stomach area.
yeah. He's not very angry. He's just like it's a reflex, I guess. So if you worry that I'm cruel to him, I'm not. It's okay.
No.
No, it's obvious you're not. He's just setting his boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He always has
That's a
this
good thing.
this countenance that he is having Vietnam flashbacks, you know, like
Yeah.
that he's like it's happening again.
He looks like Confucius.
Now yes.
Yeah.
So he has two modes, you know, total relaxation and total flashback.
Yeah. But actually, he is very, very nice and sweet cat. I mean, his expression says he's very angry and not friendly. But if you don't look at his face and look at his actions, he would appear as a very different cat. And it's very funny how important it is, like face expressions to us. Even like, but it's just his physical appearance. I mean, he can't control the way his eyebrows are. Very angry.
So you mean he's very misunderstood?
Yeah.
It could be his name, Mr. Misunderstood. You know this. I can relate totally. Well,
Yeah, it's really confusing that, like, when you pick him up, like, he's okay with it, and he's a nice cat. He's not running away from it, but his facial expressions is just, you're not sure if he likes it. You're never sure.
But he does. He does.
I know people who have the same problem, like this beach face issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced that at my workplace. I was afraid of one of my colleagues who always would look at me very scary, like she would hate me. And we didn't know each other. And I was like, I know why she hates me. I shouldn't be here. But then I get acquainted with her, and she was very nice and kind. And I was so surprised. Yeah.
Yes, you can be born with this face. You can be born with a very sad face, and you can't, and you don't sort of laugh a lot or smile a lot, and people think you're sad, but you're actually not. You're actually quite happy, but you always seem to have to explain that I'm not sad. No, I'm not sad, and it's sometimes hard to laugh.
I understand this problem. I actually trained myself to express my emotions more, to stop people from asking me like, "Why are you so serious? Why are you so sad? Something's happened." No, I'm just relaxed. Go away.
I'm just not laughing.
Yeah. It's just my poker face, yeah.
I'm actually playing poker with you now.
Yeah, you didn't know that. I do.
Yeah.
Gets a deck of cards. And I think the face thing goes beyond that. It's not only the emotions, just subconsciously. That's the thing about literature and film, I guess. When you see when some actors, they always get similar roles. That's because they have this appearance, and it doesn't matter what they are like as people. It's just the way they look gives an I don't know, can express particular emotion, but particular character. Yeah.
And amplitude, or how to say it in English.
It's like Leonardo DiCaprio when he was young. He was too sweet to have serious dramatic roles.
Yes, you're right. He was, and you can be too good looking as an actor, actually.
Yeah. And some struggle with this because they can't. They desire to play something like dramatic and serious, and but they can't get these roles because people don't see them.
They look too sweet, maybe.
Yes. It's like this. Who was this actress? I think it was. I can't remember her name, but I remember she was playing an like a maniac woman. Sharon Stone. It was Sharon Stone, I think.
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron. Yes, of course. I messed up. Sorry. Because the names sounds kind of similar. And
their faces too.
Well, they are tall and blonde, but it doesn't matter. They had to like change her face with prosthetics in order for her to play this like more regularly looking woman, because she's so like I don't know, noble looking, this beautiful face, aristocratic, yes, and this happens to regular people too. I don't know what's called. She's not my boss. Like she's superior at my work in my office, and she looks like an elf. She's small and she wears pink, and she has curly hair and small nose and big eyes, like a doll. She's so beautiful, but she has an iron fist, like there are a few of us, a couple of designers and a few of like programmers, and she is like above us, and if you meet her for the first time, you wouldn't think that she is such a good boss. Like she's not bossy in a bad way, but she can lead people, and you wouldn't think that when you just saw her on the street. And that's I think that can sometimes make people like gets in the way of career choices, maybe, because some people can have prejudice. Is that the right word for it?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're a beautiful person, especially if you're a beautiful woman, some people can have prejudice against you. Luckily, I don't have this problem. I'm just kidding. The and some some men that look young, they also can have this problem. And
Mm-hmm.
people are not necessarily against you. They just based on the feeling they getting, they can be prejudiced. That's an interesting topic. I think that's a lot of people undermine it. What's the word for it? I'm not sure. Well, for example,
I would say it's a good word. Undermine. You look down on it.
Yeah. For example, maybe you heard that sometimes people, especially when talking about literature, maybe they don't really pay close attention to descriptions of something, and they look down upon like long books, for example, because they think there are a lot of unnecessary things in them, and it's they are really not. If that's a good book, everything matters. Like, and if you pay close attention when a good writer describes a person, they can, like, just with a few like details, they can portray them,
Mm-hmm.
portray their emotion and what they are all about, and we don't notice it, but we probably subconsciously do the same to people around us.
Facial or appearance judgment.
Yeah, like we judge people all the time. Like we go on the streets or at work, especially when you see people up close, and you, even if you don't think about it, but your knowledge about the world affects how you see people. For example, if you know a lot about fashion and arts, and you can see some strangely but interestingly dressed person, you can think, wow, they're cool. And other person who didn't have exposure to these topics and these references could think that, well, they look stupid. What's that all about? So
Yeah.
Definitely with this appearance thing, that's a big story. We need some statistics, I think, collected, like, because there were trends in criminology, like, can we spot a potential criminal, just judging the appearance? And I think there have to have been some experiments, social experiments, like when people were kind of assessed visually and then like talked to check if the assessment was accurate. I think that would be interesting to Google this, like, kind of social experiments.
I googled it. I read about it, and of course it was all wrong. Like these people judged Ted Bundy as a wonderful person, and some like a regular citizen as a maniac, for example. And well, Ted Bundy was really agreeable. So.
And actually, there is a book. It's kind of criminology. It's book about criminology discipline, and there is one researcher who described the shape of our scalps and so on and so forth, and he was trying to find some coincides in shapes of our scalps for criminal people and for usual people, and to find differences and so on and so forth. Yeah, I forgot the name.
I think
of
that has
researcher.
It was sort of a science topic, quote unquote. Now it's quote unquote, and it was very popular. I don't know if we are talking about the same thing, but similar like topic was very popular in 19th century. You can even spot it in some literature. For example, in Jane Eyre, she says that about it that she can judge based on the face features what a character features this person has. But since then, it was proved to have no relation, like between facial features and character and what what the person is.
You hear a bit of distraction in my house. There's a bird that's, if anyone's got any advice, that's flown inside the house through the window. Anyway, I've got people trying to get it out. I'm just gently, don't worry.
I hope it is okay. Birds are
Is it okay?
very reckless.
The bird. I've got a very gentle family. They will not do anything
Okay.
wrong. Sorry about that.
Put
Just wanted to warn you. Yeah?
Maybe put something on the windowsill and it would fly out.
Yes, it looks like it's.
Because now it's probably scared. I can't judge where to go.
Right. No, I can see somebody's putting a stick there and trying to guide it out. I'm not needed. It'll be fine. It's a sort of a very lots of windows and glassy, so
yeah,
they
very
can come in
confusing.
easily. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It'll be fine.
Oh, you were talking about that you was keen on this what's the word? Sorry, I get tired probably. You wanted to talk about professions, and I also would.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay.
No
Oh,
problem.
okay.
So, but I think that, well, if we want to have a kind of coherent speculation here, then maybe we might start with this adult thing, like how do people become adult, and from this we could link later to professions if we like happen to assemble in the same combination next weekend or like some other time, and we could just proceed developing the thing. But I have to ask Nancy, what do you think? How realistic is it to cover your questions in like 30 minutes time?
30 minutes.
I think, well, if others agree to this kind of framework.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's an interesting topic.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to judge here, actually, how to decide.
So
Estimate the time of work, and then when we have an estimation, we will go to Andy and we will sign a contract. That's how I do it on my work.
okay. Right. So
Ksusha brought me a piece of paper she hunted in the kitchen.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, yeah.
A trophy. Like, see, I killed this piece of paper for you.
Piece of paper for chair.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The angriest cat I know.
Always. It's also a very nice, cute cat.
Yeah, just that it grows constantly when you take it. I mean, if you are holding this animal.
Yeah, she can growl, but I don't know if she would, if you would hear that. Yeah. Now she's kind.
Yeah. After hunt, satisfied after successful hunt. So, could you just, well, you sent me those questions. Could you just quickly outline them? Like, what was the scope of the question? And so we could see.
Let me just a second to remind myself.
Mhm.
So like if to raise the questions, I was very interested to know about people's experience of like starting to live in on your own, like live in your parents' house, getting first job, and all the stuff, and like to know when, how did it happen, how did you feel first months of that life, first years maybe, and maybe if you remember some particular challenging stuff that were like especially hard for you, or maybe if you remember something very exciting that was like especially exciting stuff, new, which was new to you.
Mm-hmm. And could you maybe tell some background why exactly you need this question to be asked?
Yeah. So I moved out from my mother's house like year and a half ago, or no, almost 2 years ago. And since then it's been hard. Somehow, like it's a totally new experience. I don't think I was realizing what I was doing, and I don't think I was especially prepared. I'm not saying it was like a devastating experience and I'm truly feeling horrible. No, I'm fine. I'm excited and stuff, and there are a lot of exciting things happening. But anyhow, I often feel stressed about it, and therefore I really interested in how other people experience those times in their lives, and people who already living on their own for like long time, longer, like 10, maybe 2 years or something, that can remember something. So that's why I wanted to ask to, because I really think about it a lot lately, trying to understand what is happening right now and what I should do to improve my life, maybe to decrease the amount of stress. So that's why I was interested to talk about this stuff.
So the question is when it happened, how it happened, particular bad moments and particular good moments, something
Basically
like
it, I think, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to suggest that we keep it kind of not that like laconic and succinct, but kind of stick to the like most crucial points, just to ensure that everyone has a chance to express what happened in this person's life, and then we could maybe develop if we have still substantial time for that. So who would like to begin?
Well, I can, I guess. Why not? I was 19 when I stopped to take money from my mom. It was like our agreement. I can do whatever I want with my life. In a condition, I will never ask her for money. So I left the university and went to work. And I don't know, I was actually happy. I mean, seriously, I was responsible for myself. I could do whatever I want. Yeah, of course, it was some issues. It were some issues on the start. Like suddenly it happened when food are not free, and it appears in a refrigerator, you know. And clothes are so expensive, and yeah. Luckily, my first job were in clothes store, so I had a lot of clothes with big special offers as an employee. But basically, I don't know. I was thrilled. I was immediately start to make my own like financial system, like planning everything. I had it was some time ago. I had a bank card, but it was still some issues with the card payment in the stores. Like not every store had a bank terminal. So I had these envelopes like this envelope with the money for food, this envelope with the money for clothes, this envelope with the money for entertaining myself, and all this stuff. And I don't know. For me, it was like my life just started. Like all of that before, it was fine, but it was not my life. It was someone else's life. And then it was like freedom. And it's so good to be grown up. I mean, last year I was in a fun park in our city. It calls Bobrovo. We have some attractions. Is this right word? Attractions?
I think so. Like roller coaster, carousels. They are called attractions.
Yes.
And
it's attractions or like a fun fair.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Fun fair. Yeah.
Yes.
And me and my friend, we were going to this like roller coaster, and it was quite expensive. And I heard that in the waiting line to the buying tickets, some little boy asked his mother for this exact roller coaster, and she answered like, "It's too expensive for you." And I was, oh my God, I'm grown up. I can just go and buy it for myself.
That's the best part.
Yeah, that's the best part. Yeah. Zhenya, I'm interested how it happens, like technically with your mother. You had a conversation with your mother at the age of 19. You just sit at the table, sat at the table and talked about what she stopped give you money. Like it was like this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So had she prepared to this conversation? Had you prepared to this conversation? So you had known that it should happen, this conversation?
Yeah, because
it's kind of tradition or agreement in your family.
It's not a tradition. It's just I understood at this point that I don't like my education, and I chose it because my mom chose it for me, and I wanted. Of course, saw different options for me. I thought maybe I can finish it and then go to another education which I like, but she said she won't support me for another 4 years after that. And then I understood that I can like spend 2.5 years of my life for something I don't want to, or I can just move forward and take my life in my own hands. And and she disliked my boyfriend, and that was one of the reasons of the conflict.
That's interesting that you were in the same situation that I was when I was in the university, but you didn't make the mistake I made, because I was kind of still reliant on my parents, although I had tuition. What's the word for probably tuition? So I could kind of support myself, but still it wasn't a lot. So when I decided that that's not what I should be doing, because I'm kind of wasting my time here, but my family was against it, and well, I felt like I couldn't just brush it off their opinion because they were supporting me, and I wasn't brave enough. I was I was scared of everything. I was scared of the world, so I didn't move to have a life of my own, and so I spent another a couple painful years and still didn't finish the university. And well, when I went and moved to a different city, to Krasnoyarsk actually, And when I, well, that's what I should have done earlier, much earlier. I should have just move on with my life and stop like relying on them. That would be in the best thing to do, I guess. That's always the best thing to do, to have this separation moment.
Yeah.
But well, I guess I will tell someone this story and they will learn from my mistakes. I guess that's I will try to make it useful for someone someday. But yeah, that's my not so optimistic story.
Yeah. Actually, I have kind of the same story. I entered the university which I actually don't like and which I didn't choose in some sense. So my way out was just to enter to the second university and just to study in both universities at once. Not the best choice, by the way, but still, yeah. And it's good point because I think you become adult when you start think about yourself, about who you are, and without paying attention on your on your parents' opinion, on social stereotypes, and so on and so forth. Maybe this is one of the ways when you grow up, and this is like pushed with it is pushes you to the next level of your personality. I don't know how to say it, if you get what I mean, when you start thinking about yourself in this way. Yeah.
It's so interesting that my story is almost the same, but it's different because I also decided to leave university, but I didn't even I didn't face this what's that? I forgot the word both in Russian and English, but my mom and my father didn't say that to me that you have to work then or we won't give you money, and I think it was very lucky thing and a nice thing that I was able to leave university and still comfortably living with my mom, trying to do what I can do. Yeah, studying and oh my gosh, part working. I mean, like 2 or 3 hours a day. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's this maybe generations thing, which I mentioned just 1 hour later, that there is some kind of comfortable level where you are given a chance to contemplate life and think about like everything carefully while given enough space to have enough time. Though, as I had this period of that's a long story. So I also was this. I lived off my parents, I think, until I was. That's a very embarrassing thing to tell, but until 20. How many years I was? 27, I think. I think started to earn enough to say like I'm adult. Totally, it was I think 27 or even 28. I moved and rented a flat when I was 28. That was like the final point when I said, well, now I'm kind of good enough. I'm earning enough to sustain myself. Before that, I was always dependent, and I got a lot of humiliation for that. I mean, mostly inside my head, but still.
I can relate. I actually live with my mom right now. I was forced to leave my rent apartment because my landlady decided that her niece will live there.
Oh, okay.
And I had had a gap between two jobs, so it wasn't too good with the financials.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved back to my mom. I decided to stay before I enough money to rent an apartment near the office, and then quarantine happened. So, and actually, it's okay. I mean, I too have a lot of humiliation in my head about that, but people are reacting normally. Thank them for that.
And what happened when you went home? Did you like a lot of things or more because you'd forgotten how nice it was to have food in the house, or was it the reverse? Did you think, oh my goodness, how I put up with this for so long? Did you enjoy going back home or not?
I actually like to live alone, but I don't know. It's kind of okay. We have. I mean, I lived with this woman for a lot of years. I know how to live with her. I don't have free food in the freezer. We have the different shelves. So two of mine and two of hers, and different shelves in the cupboard, and all the stuff. So it's like rent a house with neighbor.
A roommate.
A roommate,
Right.
yeah, that's the right word. So it's not as good as to live alone, but it's manageable. It's okay.
And Caroline, what is your story?
So my story was a long time ago, but so I left home at I was 17, and I was the eldest child with my siblings. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. So my mother, I came from quite an old-fashioned family, and I got a job at a newspaper. I said it was 18 then actually, and my mother was so shocked that I was leaving home, and I was moving in with a girlfriend of mine that she was friends with this girlfriend's parents. I mean, we grew up together, so it wasn't even moving in with a man. And my mother said to me, she said, it was about her father, just don't tell your grandfather. Tell your grandfather you've moved out of home so you could be closer to work. It was just so funny that that old-fashioned thing. So that's what I told my grandfather. It never happened with my younger sister or my younger brother, because being the eldest child, I'm sure oldest children know this. You do all the terrible things, and then whatever they do is fine.
And is that right?
Yeah, I can't believe that they can do anything. And I mean, I had no money. Journalistic work, I worked for a newspaper, and especially in my case, was such a little money. I mean, you could barely, I remember going to an interview, going to the courthouse and driving my car and just driving it as far as it would go without any, until the petrol just ran out, and then getting out of the car and hitching a lift to the courthouse. I mean, no money, but it was also wonderful because I was brought up in suburbia and I love the city. So I moved, from the suburbs into sort of, at that time, a really exciting city. It was in Johannesburg. So I loved that part.
Yeah, moving out was the fun part.
Yeah, and then but I did go back home also because the money, ran out of money. Was it because of that? Yes. Suddenly there was just no money to live, and I went home and I thought, gosh, I didn't remember how wonderfully comfortable it is here. You don't, you can have supper, dinner, and all these things just roll in. So you don't have to go and buy your own, So I didn't get money from my parents, but I didn't have to think about buying soap or something. So yes, that was my thinking about that.
Well, Nancy, what do you think? Yeah.
I missed something from the end. Was there a question? Or
from my side or from Caroline's side?
Yeah, from Caroline.
Oh, so why I moved back home later?
I mean, just the quality of the sound was kind of bad at the end, and those.
So I mean, so moving out of home, I had to tell my grandfather all those things that I was moving out of home because it wasn't that there was a problem at home. It was because I had to be closer to work. But I did love moving out of home. I mean, I've always ran out of money. I had a very low salary, and I remember driving this little car until I had to go and interview somebody at the court or attend the courthouse, and just running out of petrol, and just getting out of the car and hitching a lift to the courthouse, and there was all that. But I was saying, I did remember I had to return home because I didn't have enough money, and I returned. But I remember thinking, I don't know why I ever left home. It's so wonderful living with all this luxury.
Oh.
You didn't have to think of buying soap or all those things.
I remember I have 2 points about moving out. I don't think it's easier on the youngest children or like the last youngest children, because for me I always was kind of like jealous of Andrew because he moved out first and mom still had me. And when I move out, I am leaving her alone. So I'm kind of making this painful move. And I was very afraid to move out because it meant that I would hurt my mom. And I was very anxious. And I was even more anxious because I didn't have this reason that is good enough to move out from your house.
Come on.
Conception, like
come on.
As normal people you would think, I guess, like I think it was like some bad thoughts in my head, or like those stupid thoughts that if I move out, I should move out to live with a man or to live closer to work. But when I decided to move out, I wasn't just, I didn't like the atmosphere in the house and I wanted to change it. And
yes, exactly. That's why you moved out.
Yeah, but it was hard to explain. Like, I'm sorry, mother, but
I don't like it here.
Yes, I mean, that's the most obvious thing that you could do. I mean, yes,
but
of course.
It's not nice to say that. And I was afraid of another conflict. And
come on.
When I said that to my parents, they got really upset.
Come on.
I went to high school.
Stop. I mean, Nastya, are you saying what you think now? Like, it is your current opinion?
No,
it's like reflection, like what you.
Yeah, kind of. I made peace with that, and I understand. No, I understand that it's a natural thing to do, and actually, mom took it pretty well when I said to her, like, I want to move out, and she was, well, I understand you. When I was your age, I wanted to move out from my parents too, and she was like totally. She totally understood me, but of course she was sad, and I was sad that I made her sad, but there is no way you can move out of the house and your parents wouldn't be sad if they love you and they miss you. And and I also felt very guilty because I left my mom with, I was living with my mom with 2 dogs, and we had this schedule with her that I walk with dogs in the morning, she walks with dogs in the evening. And now she would have to walk with them twice a day, which is harder. And I felt this guilt that I especially that I was responsible for the decision, not responsible, but I was initiating the first dog, like, let's take this first dog. And then I was leaving the house and I was like,
no, it's yours. Deal with it.
No, it's not how it was. No, it's not how it was. I mean, maybe you initiated, but I mean, children always initiate something. Like if you said, let's I don't know, let's go and take Jerusalem. Would we also go, all family? like Nastya said, let's crusade number 3, Deus Vult, and so on. I mean.
But still, and when I was moving out, I was really anxious. And I was anxious until I actually talked to my mom about that. When I asked her directly, are you angry with me or are you sad with me that I left you with 2 dogs? And I actually asked her those direct questions, all what I was thinking. And when she said, no, I understand and it's okay, tired because of it and stuff. And then I made my peace with it.
And
so yeah.
then she had the third dog.
Yeah, and I think it was to replace me.
Oh, exactly.
In some sense, yeah.
Yeah. And about the going back home and living again, every time I go to Krasnoyarsk now, because I live in a different city, I moved out, I moved a year ago. Yeah, I saw the message on the chat also. Yeah. I moved to Novosibirsk a year ago, and every time I go to Krasnoyarsk to visit family and friends, every time I am at home of my mother, and she cooks dinner, and I feel so relaxed and safe and so nice. Like sometimes I was so tired first time because it was my first vacation, and I was like really exhausted. And the first day in Krasnoyarsk, I met several people, I walked a lot, and when I got back home to my mom, she cooked a dinner and I couldn't even move. I ate too much. I was so tired that I was so lazy to even put my cup to the sink. And I was like a totally spoiled child. But when I asked my mom if she angry with me that I'm not doing anything useful here, she said, no, it's okay, I understand you, because that's how it is when you when you're a mother and a daughter, when you have your kids back to your house after some period, you would do everything from her point of view. You would do everything to make them comfortable, and you're very happy they're here, and you want to take care of them. And every time I'm there, I'm really lazy, and I like it. And yeah, I can relax. I have dinner without doing anything, and somebody taking care of you, which is also very nice change after living alone in the house, when you always have to take care of yourself, even though if you have friends and some people who also sometimes occasionally help you, but still it's living alone, and sometimes can be hard. But yeah, so even though I really like that experience of visiting my mom, I still understand that I wouldn't like to go back there living, because I remember too well what was when I was living with her, what was that like. And also I think about it as a big step back. Like, maybe it's a very damaging thought to have, like if something happens and I have to move back to my parents, it's okay, it should be okay. But somehow in my head, it's not like I'm not no judging here, of course. I mean, it's only about myself.
I can join.
Me too. Oh, I can join.
Yeah, so I just I know it's gonna be it would be very hard for me to if I have to ever go back to living with parents.
So what's the trouble? Like, this question that you ask about being an adult sounds still like something is troubling you. What's that?
Well, I think basically I just wanted to feel normal. Like everybody is going through that experience, and hearing others experience is already helpful to see that we are very, very, very the same. Even though we have different stories, it's still somehow it's intertwined. Is that the word? Or intersect?
No, I think intertwined, and I
Yes.
think intertwined. Don't you? I like that word, intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's goods and bads all woven together, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So I don't think it's gonna be very easy for me to cure the stress of living alone, because at some point it's just realizing that from now on it's gonna be always me who takes care of myself. even though I have support from family and I have big support from like family and friends, and I know that they can help me if something happens, it's still quite a big thought to have that now you have to be responsible for your life, and you have to make a lot of decisions that are going to affect your next years and stuff. And I'm just I think I just have so many new experiences that it's natural that I have this stress and anxiety about them, because I just need to wait until they lay down in my head comfortably.
Subside.
Settle down, yeah, kind of settle down in my head. Yeah. But hearing what other people experience is very helpful. And having this opportunity to talk about it is very nice.
I think it's because when one shares things, you know, you share what you're going through. It makes things all seem normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially.
And that you're not so different. We're not completely different.
Yeah. It's especially interesting when you read stories from the other side of the world through internet, and hearing your story, Caroline, that's really interesting. Different generation, completely different part of the world, and we all kind of have this separation moment, this initiation, I could even say, when you move on with doing your own thing.
So Nancy, where do you live now?
I'm living in Novosibirsk. It's still Siberia. It's not very far away from Krasnoyarsk. It's like
in Russian terms, not very far away.
I know. I was looking at my atlas and such a huge country, Russia. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's around 12 hours.
Yeah, on a train and 1 hour on a plane.
Yeah, 12, 15 hours ride on a car.
Yeah.
So it's not so close. It's kind of close in Russian terms, but if you're in Europe, you would be half Europe away.
Yeah, and I moved because of work, because I had no work in Krasnoyarsk, and I found the work like in the studio here in Novosibirsk, so I had to move.
Right. And have you been to how different is this city to your home city?
Well, it's a funny thing because I'm not exactly living in the city. It's kind of a faraway district from Novosibirsk. It's like
Akademgorodok?
Yeah, Akademgorodok. It's like 40 minutes on a car from Novosibirsk, which is like still fine, but still it is considered as a distant district. Yeah, and it's called Akademgorodok, and it's this like in Krasnoyarsk. I was growing up in Akademgorodok too, but it's in Krasnoyarsk. It's much more smaller, but the basic idea is the same. It's a lot of forest. It's kind of like a district that in which you know everyone and everyone knows you or someone, and there are a lot of universities and stuff. And here in Novosibirsk, Akademgorodok is very educated. There are lots of I think educated people, which is nice. I hear many stories from my colleagues that when you go to the bar, you either hear conversations about IT stuff or physics, mathematics, and stuff.
Yeah, it's either scientists or engineers, like 80%. So because it's kind of quote unquote science town, because most of the universities from this area are more, I can say, combined almost. They are all in this place, in this small town, most of them. So it's very interesting place.
You live in the
Yeah.
same place.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, not really
Okay.
far away. And I kind of have a similar story. I'm not native to Krasnoyarsk, but I lived there for a couple of years. And when I found myself like wanting to continue my education and growth as a designer, because I was like a lot of different things before. I didn't really know what to do with my life. First, I was studying philology, and then when I went to Krasnoyarsk, I decided that I want to turn my life around, and I decided that I would be a mechanic. I would repair cars now.
Gosh, well, that's useful.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I left after a year. It was just an experiment, you know. All my life, I thought about myself as this like humanitarian person. I know languages and literature, and I don't really understand mathematics and physics. And this was an experiment in order to prove to myself that I actually can do something that is uh, kind of mechanical, mathematical, and I was pretty successful student there. But when I decided that that's not what I want to pursue professionally. Um, but I tried a few different things and landed on design. And then I tried to move back, step back and study philology again, but it didn't work out. And I decided that's it, that's enough. I'm gonna um, dive deep into design. That's the only thing that truly fulfills my dreams and aspirations. And then I moved to Novosibirsk because there's work here for this kind of specialists. It's kind of the
Yeah.
same story as Nancy.
And what do you design?
I design websites.
Oh, gosh.
Two
Yeah.
designers in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
hello there.
Hello.
So yeah, pretty fun stuff. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, Novosibirsk has a very big, like, I don't know, IT community.
Yeah.
It is like IT center for in Russia. There are several cities in
Tomsk, I
Russia.
believe.
I think so,
Yeah,
Siberia.
in Siberia, yeah. But in
Oh,
Russia, there are several cities which consider as IT
IT capital, I guess.
Capital.
IT capitals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's probably St. Petersburg, and Novosibirsk. They are two main cities.
Tomsk, you forget
And
Tomsk.
also,
and
because
Tomsk.
there are universities also. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Well, and
I've been
Moscow.
wanting to ask you, the place that you all come from and live, what is it like as a place? What is it known for? If I were to arrive there, what would you tell me to go and have a look at?
Oh, the nature, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's
Yeah.
in
Oh my god, I
Novosibirsk,
miss Krasnoyarsk so much
Oh, yeah.
because of it. Because it's
Yeah.
like
mountains.
mountains. It's just they are in the city almost. Like you can take a bus and go to the national park and walk there, and there are incredible, rocks and.
Well,
Yeah, we have
you're
this,
telling. Sorry.
Yeah, there's I don't know how to say, nature reservation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this park where you like not allowed to do some things like bonfires and stuff.
Oh, right.
And it calls Stolby because we have there these unique rocks, like big rocks, which called Stolby.
Pillars.
Yes, pillars. They look
yeah,
like
pillars.
pillars.
Oh, they look like pillars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of them. They have really unique shapes. Some of them have really unique shapes, and they are.
And you can climb on them.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
it's not like the best thing to do sometimes
It's
because
safe, yeah.
It depends
really
on an exact rock. Like some of them are quite easy to climb, and some of them are not. We
Right.
actually have this word in Krasnoyarsk, like the whole world call it's alpinist. but we call it Stolbist.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Actually,
But
well,
I feel like
sorry, Nesta, yeah.
I feel like in Cape Town, mountains are a bit more exciting.
Yes,
than
exactly.
In
That was my
Krasnoyarsk.
point. you are.
I'll leave that to Andy because he's the only one here that knows both, right?
Yeah.
So that's the point. I was going to say you're talking to a Capetonian about mountains. It's that's
And like the same, I wanted to like, I really like here in Novosibirsk we have this sea, which is not a sea. This is a
reservoir.
Water reservoir called Ob Sea, in like people call it, and it's still quite beautiful. It gives you the feeling of beaches and the sea.
So
But
what is it if it's not the sea?
it's a water reservoir, like it.
That's
Because
right.
there's
It's the biggest. It's a big one.
Well, it's
Oh,
not.
that's
It's
that's
a
the
dam.
river, and
It's a
it
dam.
has like hydroelectric station. I'm not sure if I say this right, but it has this reservoir which this kind of stations need to run a lot of water through them and create electricity.
Our rivers are very powerful in Siberia, Karen. So, like, I think Yenisei is one of the biggest rivers in the world. So we traditionally exploit them a lot. We build hydro stations, and then before this hydro station dam, there is usually a gigantic pool of water, which is usually called the sea, was artificially made, of course. So I think each city which has this dam, they usually have a sea also. Like in Krasnoyarsk there is a sea, in Novosibirsk there is a sea, and in some similar cities.
In Krasnoyarsk, it's not that close to Krasnoyarsk, but in Novosibirsk, you actually like. I live 1 hour of walk away from the beach, or even 30 minutes.
Walk by foot? You mean?
Yeah.
You're really cool.
Yeah,
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really
Because,
like it.
Now I understand that I spent about several days. Last time I spent several days in Novosibirsk and in Akademgorod, and I didn't know about this sea, and I miss this opportunity. It's
You
really
should
miss
totally.
it.
We should totally meet up when you come next time, and we should take it for a walk.
Yeah, it would be great.
I always take all the people I meet to the beach.
I can confirm that.
But again, in Cape Town you have ocean, so
we're kind of. What are we talking about?
I suppose wherever you go, there's each place usually has its own beauty.
That's I really liked Krasnoyarsk for its beauty, and I also I lived in a forest. There was river quite near our house and a beautiful view. But here in Novosibirsk, I also have it's also beautiful. It's different, but it's also beautiful and nice. And the beach, it's very nice to walk on the sand. I guess every time I'm there, I feel like I'm in a movie, especially when I walk with someone across the beach, and I'm like talking about something, and I'm like, where is the camera? Where is this dramatic view? So especially if it's like some hard talk, especially if there is a stormy weather and rain. Once I was on the beach when it was raining. I went there intentionally after work. It was raining and it was twilight, and it was so nice. I was listening to some sad music and I was walking and thinking, and it's such a movie scene, and I really enjoyed it.
You should have Malibu Rescues, this TV series.
Don't.
With Pamela Anderson,
and David Hasselhoff.
And David Hasselhoff,
Oh, that's very funny.
Yeah, and what we should visit when we in Cape Town. The only thing I know is I think this mountain is called Lion's Head.
Table Mountain.
And Lion's Head. And Lion's Head.
Oh, and Lion's Head. Yes, Lion's Head. That's quite right. It took me a while to see the head of the lion. It's because it has a shape of, it's got the lion's back and then the lion's head. But Andy, it wasn't so obvious. It took me a while to be able to see it properly.
I'm very metaphors is my favorite thing, and I even had a problem at university with one teacher because he didn't like metaphors and I did, and so.
Yeah, no, it's very I love lion's head. I wasn't born in Cape Town, so I came from Johannesburg. Then I went to live in Canada. Then I came to Cape Town because we thought, why not have a change? And it's a very beautiful change. But yeah, lion's head. It took me a while to see the lion in the head. The lion's head. And then there's the Table Mountain, which has the cloud that comes down and looks like a tablecloth, which is why it's called Table Mountain.
No.
But there's some very beautiful walks in the mountains that you can do.
Yeah, and they are quite different from our mountains. Like they have a lot of trees and forests, and South African mountains are quite different. As I don't really know. My information is very limited.
Yes.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yes, he's our good one because he knows how to came from there to here. Right.
Well, Table Mountain is just a unique one. It's this flat shape which makes it possible to walk on it. But first you have to get there. And,
exactly.
So that's like 8 hours to and back. So that's a long way. And I never did it, unfortunately. Neither did I see...
Or maybe fortunately, Andy, it was so exhausting when I did it. I came home and I couldn't get up or walk up my staircase. My legs were so sore. I had a friend who was a mountaineer who took me. Oh my goodness me, it was quite a walk.
There's a cable road. There is a cable road which you could use alternatively, which is, I think, quite a nice solution. And, well, there are penguins. There is this Cape Point, and there is safari chance. There are some reserves where you can see some wild animals like cheetahs and so on. There are multiple cultural places to visit. There is ocean. I mean, the beach and the ocean and this Atlantic power, primordial force that just blasts you into face and says, well, like, you don't dare venture across me. And you think of Columbus at that point usually. And so, I mean, it's easier, I think, to say what Cape Town doesn't have. Because it's such a vibrant thing, and it's I think you can go there and spend there a half a year, and then you will still not get bored. Because also Africa is kind of, I think, you can travel around quite easily. I mean, if you have money also, and you know the route, you can go to like other countries around South Africa and then go forward and just explore around, visit Kilimanjaro, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting place, and just I quite feel pity that I didn't have time to visit almost anything.
I think you were so busy.
I was
working.
pretty occupied, yes, and that wasn't the purpose of my trip. Yes. It wasn't a touristic thing. That's why I think it's kind of a chance to come back and experience it with just...
Actually, and that's what I've always been told, that you always have to leave something in a country that you don't do because it gives you a reason to come back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Definitely.
I really miss that Lion's Head Mountain. Table Mountain, they are so different. I mean, that's, if you have seen some videos about South America, I'm talking about South America now, about Bolivia, these mountains which are hidden in the tropical forest, and there is this fog covering it. Like
you are talking about this like square, almost a square, like this plateau.
Kind of like, I mean, it looks like our pillars, but just higher and more massive, and I would say kind of with different
trees.
different trees, different note, different mood, more mysterious, more kind of different colors, while our pillars are still something same, especially after rain when there is this fog covering them. And then Table Mountain has the same story, that you go to work in the morning and it is covered with this cap, and it looks so beautiful and it is so adventurous. I mean, it feels so fairy. It's like it's not this fairy tale like light-minded, but it is some kind of Conan Doyle's vibe about dinosaurs and some prehistorical world and some secrets lying there. Well, this is Table Mountain, but Lion's Head is this kind of peak, and it's very moody, because one day it is just absolutely visible and in front of blue sky, and then next day it is gray, next day it is covered with sunlight, and then you see it with a cloud, and then you see it and then you don't see it because there is rain or storm. And every day there was a new picture, and I was so lucky to have a flat to see this every morning, every evening, anytime during the day. And the most beautiful thing was the sunset, which was reflected on the Table Mountain, this saturated orange, not orange, but just, I don't know, molten gold, molten orange gold, if this exists. I don't know. It's just, and it was always around, like Stolbea somewhere distant. I mean, I see them now from my window. I think it's something about me and mountains. I mean, I always see a mountain from the window. And
Come to Novosibirsk.
Yeah.
Well, I can, but I can't say I will settle down there, right? So because I need to see something from the window.
Yeah.
And so it's that you have this chance to observe these mountains.
Third one.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
That's a FIFA.
Yeah.
She likes to be held like a baby.
Oh, sweet. Look at that.
Yeah.
Fluffy.
Just look at the camera.
That's the kind of. Oh. Honestly, as a person who grew up in the mountains. Oh, they also have
There
a
we
visitor.
are. Hello.
Novosibirsk has its downside, and for me, the main downside is there are no mountains and nothing that resembles mountain in a close proximity.
Sometimes the sky looks like some clouds on the horizon. They look like mountains, and I'm looking
I get
out
such
of the window
nostalgia.
like,
Yes.
yeah.
There is something about mountains, isn't there? It's a strength or something.
Yeah.
There's
Actually,
something
what made
magical.
me think about your place was that the way you live. I was even looking it up in an atlas, and I thought it's pronounced like this. Is it this? But Omar, was his name Omar, who lives in St. Petersburg? Andy, who was on your show. Omar. He works in St. Petersburg.
Oleg, there was Oleg.
Yeah.
Ah, that's right.
Like,
And he said how much he missed Siberia, the nature. Remember the museum he wanted to create, the feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you go, you're taking Siberia with you.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's quite interesting for me because in South Africa, not everyone, but you hear of St. Petersburg because of the ballet, or you hear of Moscow, but I've never really met people from Siberia.
Interesting. Maybe because there are less opportunities to travel from here. It's quite expensive to travel.
It's really hard to get out. Yeah.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Don't try to leave Siberia.
Yeah, we are pretty, I would say, rooted here. Well, which we can develop different ways. This concept, like for example, going very deep into our history of our region. It's a prison region. We were sent here by our European part of our country. The Siberia was a place for banishment, and then prison work and so on and so forth. Many of our cities and our places and factories and roads were built by prisoners of Gulag camps of previous generations. So, and I think there is still this kind of taste of barbed wire in the air, but especially with some old hardcore people. I mean, not that their age is old, but they are kind of still rooted. And that's why to get out is kind of it means that you have something very different in your head. And I was in Budapest with my Celta team, and the guy from Manchester, Andy, he said, in our country, in Britain, we talk about Siberia, some mysterious, faraway land which we know nothing about, and about people we know nothing. And then
that's exactly it. Yes.
And then he said, "Here is you studying how to be a teacher with me." what the hell?
even in our own country, I remember my grandma likes this story that when my mom went to Moscow to study something, I don't quite remember. I think it was either in Moscow or in Kiev. So now it's Ukraine's capital. That someone from her classmates said, "Oh, you look quite normal for Siberian." So it's kind of a prejudice sometimes.
Yeah, I remember then several years ago I was traveling to Kazakhstan, and that's one of our former USSR republics and so on, and we have relatives here, and when we met with relatives, they were really surprised that just, oh, you are talking like normal people without any accent. You use normal words like classical Russian words. Oh,
it was very funny.
Yeah, it was funny because they actually thought that we are speaking like, I don't know, like in tribes, like people.
I was about to say like a tribal language.
Well, like we use like tribal language, but I answered, we have an internet. Even in internet and so on, so forth, we have TVs.
Did you tell them we don't have pet bears?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are actually like tribes, smaller. What's the word for it? And to help me.
Yeah.
How would you
ethnic groups?
Yes.
Ethnic groups, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so who are native to Siberia, so they have, but most of them they lost, especially in Soviet times. There was this aggressive campaign to teach everyone who was living in these tribes to make them all do what we do, for example, some traditions thrown away. Basically, they made
a little bit like Africa.
Yeah, basically, it's all the same. They come and they make them change their lives to fit their
fit the new society. Yeah,
like missionaries, like the missionaries did.
Yeah.
Kind of, but communist.
Oh, okay.
But also before that, then it all just started. Then Russians started coming to Siberia. It all also was this missionaries and war and new laws, etc. So it was not good for these ethnic groups, and a lot of them, smaller ones already, they lost. They don't have their own language anymore, or they have very little left of their old traditions. So yeah, it's mostly all the same now. We are not that different from the European part of Russia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. It's very interesting because I was suddenly became very curious about where you lived.
Come. We will have an excursion for you.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, I would love to.
Your husband has been to Russia, so.
Yes, he has. I don't think he's been to Siberia though. You see.
why would he? So I mean, that's
Yeah. Kiev, yeah, that's not Russia though. Yeah.
sorry.
Ukraine, he went. He's also been to the Ukraine, which is not Russia.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah. He's been. Yes.
But I mean,
and my daughter's also been to Russia, but she's been to only Moscow.
Moscow's quite different from the
rest of Russia.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Well,
like
I'd say
a country inside the country.
Yeah,
Moscow is more like Krasnoyarsk than St. Petersburg. So in my experience, St. Petersburg is something very unique.
Yeah, in Moscow, it's very big. I mean, it's one of the biggest cities in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can spend hours and hours going from one. It's agglomeration. It's not really a city. It's that it's consumed all the cities around it. So it became this huge place. So
like in
it's really big.
Yeah, like Kinshasa in Congo.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
This mega city with lots of things around, or Tokyo, I think.
And it's much more because it's a capital, and that's the capital is it's very wealthy, you know.
Yeah.
Compared to, especially compared to Siberia, so it's different. It's a lot different from, especially from small cities, from towns in the country. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you guys know who is Paul Romero?
Say it again.
Do you know Paul Romero? Or another question. Do you know Heroes of Might and Magic game?
Oh,
no.
I thought it rang a bell in my head.
So
Is it a musician?
it's a composer. It's a composer who wrote music for, well, mainly for computer games. Paul Romero wrote music for Heroes of Might and Magic, all the parts, and he is pretty famous. I mean, he is extremely famous. I think one of the most well-known composers. Just I want to say that one of our club members sent your card, this club membership card, to Paul Romero to his Instagram account. So.
What? It's.
Can you read?
Yeah. It feels so strange.
If I were you, I would consider my life accomplished. Like if somebody like
that's
that.
Cool.
Just.
That's really cool.
It's always. I have this feeling. I can't even explain it because I draw pictures a lot. And some of them I drew like years ago. This picture I drew like 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, 3 years ago. And I kind of, I'm happy it lives its own life. And it's incredible that so many different people from so many different places, thank you to you, Andriy, and saw this picture. And I mean, yeah, internet is one place. Everyone can see my pictures on the internet.
But it traveled.
Yeah,
like, literally, physically.
It has its different experience, and it's so strange that I kind of let go this picture, and I don't really think about it that much. And even not to talk about this picture, but talk about different pictures I drew as a gift for different people, and I to be honest, of some of them I totally forgot, and it's always so strange, because for me it's many pictures I drew and gave to someone, but for those people this one picture is associated with me, and they remember it, and I can maybe not remember it, and it's so strange every time, and like how many different people can see it.
Well,
it's a beautiful picture.
Your picture definitely settled down in Cape Town for quite a while. Like Cape Town, then Congo, and even, just a second, Peru. One guy went to Peru with this card.
It's really warms my
It
heart
has,
and
so,
gives me
so it has its own destiny, Nancy.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have plans for this card, for this concept. I mean, for this bonfire thing, because it's about it's about light, about lighthouse, about bonfires. Yeah, the next destination is Moon or Mars. Because fire is this unique thing. I mean, that it is so different from anything else, right? It is so spreading. It is like you don't need to control it anymore. Water will dry, wind is so volatile, land is so static, but fire is so flamboyant. It is so energetic. It will grow, it will heat, it will warm, it will attract. So definitely something that has to live. And yeah, I think we should be slowly finishing. And this is not going to be feedback section. It's going to be what you wanted to say but didn't say thing. So
Okay.
it's not feedback. It's not like I mean, it's becoming too cliche to repeat this, but maybe you wanted to just reflect and say something that you couldn't express earlier, just to finish up the gathering.
I have short advice about adulthood.
Excuse me?
I have a short advice on adulthood.
Okay.
Get yourself a slow cooker and learn how to cook in it, and your life will change forever.
To get yourself what? Sorry?
Slow cooker. You know, we call it multivarka.
Oh, multipot, cooking. Yeah, I see.
I don't know.
У
Well, I
Осна
googled
поддержал
this.
ваш канал
Google
на
said that
50
it's
рублей и
called
сообщает:
Slow
«Рестифет бачку
What,
сейлба».
what is this? It's a big pot.
You know, it's a kind of an electrical pot which you has different regimes, and you put whatever food you want to cook, potatoes, for example, and you close the lid, and it cooks it. I don't know why it was translated to slow cooker, because it cooks it very thoroughly and very quickly, because it creates like pressure, strong pressure inside itself, and it cooks very evenly and pretty fast, I would say, and you don't have to run to the stove to check on something, and it just does its thing and turns off, and it's amazing.
Does everyone know about this?
Yeah, it's maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's a multipot. I don't know. It's usually cylindrical, and like maybe Masha has it. Let's
I
hope.
feel like, Masha will.
Okay, let's. I mean, sometimes to show is better than explain for 10 times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had this one.
So how do you call this, Caroline?
What? I can't see it. Where is it?
You couldn't.
I thought you were showing me. No, I didn't see.
Well, Masha was Masha was showing it.
Oh, Masha, can I? I can't see Masha now.
Yeah.
Right. Oh. Ah. You know, I don't know it. I feel like I don't have
You
one.
just open it and it's look like this.
Goodness me. And you can cook
It's a
anything in
great
it.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. You can bake in it. You can create, you can make soups in it, and
Goodness.
all kind of
I've
dishes.
never seen one. I've never had
Oh,
the
really?
experience. Do you cook rice in it?
Oh,
Yeah,
also, it's very good
rice.
for rice. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
the
perfect
best
for rice.
the best rice I've ever had.
Rice, vegetables, potatoes, meat, and
Goodness.
puddings, and so on and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah,
Just
even pies.
cakes.
It looks amazing. One of you should
Yeah.
actually become a business person and send me here. I think they'd do very well.
Business,
Yeah, for some reason,
startup, guys. Don't
Yeah.
miss
Yes.
out this
That's
opportunity.
idea.
People who are on the chat, people who are watching, please. This
We've
is
got a website.
business
A
idea.
website designer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great thing, because it why adulthood, because it helps you to cook in bulk. You can
Yeah.
cook and eat it for a few days, and you don't waste time like
Yeah.
watching the
Yeah.
pot on the stove. etc.
Yeah, you just put ingredients and you can go away and return in 4 or 6 hours and everything will be okay. You can control it remotely, but your application in your smartphone, so you can in the morning you can put all ingredients and about and
Set a timer.
set a timer, and yeah, it will
will
cook it
cook
sounds-
by the
till, yeah.
That sounds remarkable.
Yeah.
That's pretty popular here.
So
And what
So-
sort of power does it use? Does it use it's not like a microwave, it uses, what kind
No.
of power does it use?
It's
Electricity.
Steam?
Yep.
electricity, yeah,
it
steam.
can use steam. It can use it. Mostly it uses the temperature and pressure.
Gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. I can't recommend it enough. It changed my life. I was kind of skeptical about it because I remember saying to my boyfriend, why would you buy this thing? I never seen anyone use it because you kind of need to adjust to it, your cooking to it, because it's a bit different. Recipes a bit different because you put everything at once. So I thought it's just waste of money. And then
It got
everything changed.
Yeah.
it grew on me.
Almost
who
each family, yeah.
to you. Who
Almost
invented
each
it?
family.
Which country did it come from?
I don't really know. Oh, mine was made in Ukraine, I think.
Ah,
Mine maybe was made in China, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
It's probably an Asian thing, I guess.
Asian, yeah.
Because they
maybe.
cook a lot of rice, and it's
Yes.
really great for rice.
it did remind me of a look of everyone, cooks their rice like that. It reminded me of a rice cooker. I haven't still not seen one. But
Yeah, maybe. Maybe originally it was a rice cooker, and then someone guessed to put other ingredients into it, and it works. So
And now it's multi-pot, not
Yeah,
just
no.
rice cooker.
so it's called a
Multi-cooker.
multi-pot. A
Yeah, it's called
multi-cooker.
multi-pot. Yes.
multi-pot or multi-cooker, I don't know how to say it. Yeah.
Well, thank
So-
you. I've learned something new. I'm going to go and search
Yeah.
for a multi-pot. And maybe it's not the time to find one in lockdown,
I wonder why you don't have this. Maybe it's energy consuming and it's not popular in Cape Town.
I've
But
never-
that would be strange.
I've never heard of it. I mean, no. I think there are a lot of people that do have these rice cookers that I haven't, that I only know because people, they won't make burnt rice. You know how there's in China they make tea out of rice, burnt rice. But these,
No.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never heard of it.
It's actually very tasty.
It's very tasty. You're right. It is very tasty. It's quite earthy. But they said the problem is with these rice steamers is there's never any burnt rice, so they have to
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
burn it.
Yeah, nothing gets. No, but if you leave it for very, very, very long on a very high heat, it would burn a little, but it comes off easily and it's not a problem.
Yeah, Andy's brought up a right thing. I wonder why we don't have one here, because we have a lot of things here. Does it use a lot of electricity or?
Do you
I don't
have
know.
any internet shops just to check? Maybe you have it
Yes,
in
I'll have a
Cape
look.
Town.
I
Yeah.
looked for on Google for rice cooker, and it looks very similar. It just has less like buttons, less
Ah.
options,
Right.
but it looks like the same thing.
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Well, let's make
Oh,
it
so
our
that's-
homework. Let's make it our homework and see.
Exactly. We don't have to
Yeah.
bring the whole world into it now.
Yeah. So, but thanks for that, Angelina. You almost sold me the idea of this multi-pot, but I think I'm going to
I
go
should really
classical.
start
for
a
now.
business.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, any more? How to say? Last thoughts sounds very scary. Yeah.
Actually, yes. I almost forgot that Oleg asked me to say hi to all of you from him, because he's really disappointed he's not here today. So yeah, and it's fortunate that I remembered.
Oh,
Namaste.
thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
He is quite ill now, so we wish
Yeah.
him to get well as soon as possible.
Oh, who is this? Do I know him, Andy?
Well, you know him too. Oleg is that guy who talked about missing Siberia from St. Petersburg.
Yes.
Yes.
Shame, is he not well?
Yeah, he is
Yeah.
ill now. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh dear. And I've done a whole, because he asked me, I remember him because he asked me about when you were talking about Russian books and he felt I was a bit left out. I thought that was really thoughtful. And he asked me about South African classics. And of course I went completely blank, but, but I've studied them for him. Where can should I send them? I've got a whole lot of books for him.
Right.
That's perfect.
He would be happy.
Yeah.
Let's think.
He likes to read, I think.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
I think we could either meet next time or we could just
I've got a PDF. I can send it to someone. Maybe I'll send it to you, Andy.
Yeah, we could do this way. Yes. Or I could give you his Telegram number or WhatsApp number and vice versa. And well, I shall message him and then we will.
Yes, at first. He might not want.
Oh,
you know.
I'm sure he will.
Be happy.
Yeah. Of course.
You will be
Well,
happy. Yeah.
Well, I thought he was a very nice person. In fact, I was expecting him to be here. That's why I've got all these books in my head.
We are very nice people. We are talking behind somebody's back, but we are so.
At least it's good things, right? Okay.
We are so proud of you. So, right. Well.
Okay, so that was the things I didn't say. This big book list that I was, because I was quite speechless. I was, all the Russian literature, and then which dwarfs the South African classics, I must say. But it was quite interesting actually looking and asking various people what they thought of the South African classic. It seems our classics aren't as old as yours, possibly.
I think there is some reason to it. Taking the age of South Africa as a country.
Yes. And then also, in looking at these classics, I had to especially concentrate, which is quite a racist thing to do, I must say, on what happened to the Black literature. And I did find some good literature written by Black people. It was quite interesting that I had to think about it like that, though. What happened to those stories? Being brought up in apartheid South Africa. What happened to those stories? There are some. Anyway, that's my piece for today.
I have this book about Nelson Mandela. It was presented by Rhoda. She gave me this book, but I haven't read it yet. So
Walk to Freedom.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's a big, thick book.
It is. Not that I'm scared of big, thick books, but it's just that I can't get my hands on paper books yet, only audiobooks. Maybe if I find it in audio version, but it's a gift and I have to read it. It's like kind of a courtesy. So well, that's it.
Yeah.
You were talking about the future. I wanted to write in the chat the name of the channel. You can check it out. It's spelled funny, like this. The future. Yeah, it's a YouTube channel about design and entrepreneurship. And somebody said this word for me: entrepreneurship.
Yes, it's a very difficult word for everyone. Don't worry. And it's even spelled in a funny way. Entrepreneurship. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So. And a bit about self-development in general, and I think there's something for everyone in this on this channel.
Thank you.
I just can say that there is always this threshold of getting to know some speakers. So what I can recommend is filtering the videos by the most popular, seeing them first, and then deciding what to do next, because he, I think, covered many topics, mostly job related, but there is some philosophy there, and it's worthy of listening to because it's kind of innovatory, I would say, fresh. So that was lit. that was really cool, and I think that was a very cozy and quite profound conversation, I believe, and I'm quite delighted how this, not quite, I'm just delighted, extremely, how episode 10, the anniversary episode went, and so I want to thank you, everyone who participated. That was such a sophisticated and lovely conversation. Thank you for your involvement and engagement, and for your cats and multipods and everything, like and dogs and all the possible accessories.
Asian gods.
Yeah, Asian gods. Right, and thanks to the chat. Thanks, Eugen, for support and for your voice messages, which are always making me cringe with this voice. I mean, in a positive manner, because I love this Google Voice. Yeah, so I think I will announce the next meeting, and I will tell you when it is going to happen, because I'm not sure when I want to hold it. Maybe next Saturday, maybe not, because well, I have this camera now, and I also have lots of plans. I'm not sure when I'm going to put them into life, and it's kind of living on this kind of edge of capabilities is kind of making me think about how good this idea is. So I will see, because I want to have meetings, of course, and I mean, I want to have them as soon as possible and as often as possible. So I will tell in advance. And again, much appreciation for the participation, and wish you a wonderful weekend. May the adulthood bring you only the positive impressions, emotions, and experiences, and give you enough strength to cope with the opposite ones, and to draw correct conclusions and use them for your own good and prosperity. Amen. And
Amen.
Yeah. So peace and love. See you soon. Thank you. And
Thank you.
yeah, bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
nice
you,
meeting
bye-bye.
you.
Nice to
Bye.
meet you
You
too.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.